We have so much to talk about tonight, but I'm really, really excited about this. Oh, my screen was just doing some spooky things. Um, I'll wait for a couple people to join. I am very activated right now. I'm very locked in. I do not have any eyelashes on. I feel very like all natural right now. I say as I dyed my eyelashes, but I don't know. I just like kind of was like, maybe I don't want to wear lashes right now, and I don't want to wear my glasses. Like, let's go all natural. What was I about to say? Shit. Oh, but I'm so activated because I had a coffee way later than I should have. At like 5 o'clock, I just got like I was like fiending for a coffee. I wanted one so bad, and sometimes that happens. So then I make one, and then when I start drinking it after a sip or two, I'm like, yeah, I don't actually want this. And then I just like throw it away, and like that's something I do sometimes. So I thought that was gonna happen, but then it was probably one of the best iced coffees I've ever made, and I had to fight every urge in my body not to drink the entire thing. And I'm probably gonna be up so late tonight, but the good news for you guys is that I'm very, very activated about this. Tonight we are talking about Heidi Fleiss. I'm pretty sure it's Fleiss, not Fleece. I heard her say Heidi Fleiss in an interview. Fleiss like ice. And I think there's a part broken in my brain about people's names. You know those people that like can't do faces? Like they just don't remember people's faces at all. Like they can see it in front of them. When the person's in front of them, they see what they look like, but they just like can't recall their face. I don't have that. I have that with names. If you tell me your name, I will forget it immediately. Like when I'm teaching my own classroom, it takes me till like late October to learn all the kids' names, and sometimes I still fuck it up. As a substitute, I'm horrible about names. Kids get really upset, and I feel really bad about it because this is probably actually one of the things I dislike the most about myself, because I know how like meaningful it is to people for you to remember their name and like how it makes them feel special and heard and all of that. And I really want to have that impact on people, but just to save my fucking life, I can't remember anyone's name. And I feel bad because sometimes I'll sub in a class and then I'll come back to that same class like 2 or 3 days later and I mispronounce the kid's name again on the roll in the exact same way. And they're like, I was with you yesterday. And I'm like, sorry. Like it's gone immediately. Immediately. And a lot of people mispronounce my name and I really don't care about it. So like that's what I always tell kids. I'm like, if I mispronounce your name, correct me. I'm not going to be offended at you interrupting me to correct me. Like please correct me as many times as I get it wrong. Face blindness, that sucks. Like that fucking sucks to have face blindness. Because for me, it's just the person's name. I will remember your face. I will remember our entire conversation. I will remember everything about you. I will remember your body language. I will remember the food that you were eating when we were talking. And I will not remember your name. So I try and like really, I feel like I like overcompensate and like always like, I'm like, oh, and you told me this and this. And people are shocked how well I remember a conversation with someone. Like I really have a phenomenal memory for conversation and like connection. Name is not there. Name is not there. Like I'll be at parties and someone will be like, oh, do you know them? And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, like they have this traumatic thing with their mother. Like I know all this stuff. And they're like, what's their name? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. Couldn't tell you. Could not let you know. Um, I'm a big proponent of pulling another student to the side and asking how to pronounce all the names. Oh my God, I was subbing for this class the other day and this kid was making me so angry. And like the first 2 or 3 times he did it, I was like, okay, it's a little funny. And then after like the 10th time, I was like, I'm actually going to crash out so badly. Anytime I said a name, he would go here and then start laughing every time, no matter whose name I said. And I was like, I'm actually like, you are actually going to drive me up the wall. Like genuinely. Okay, so we have kind of a lot of slides to get into. We have a lot going on. So let's just go ahead and freaking get into it. Let me adjust my screen a little bit. And for those of you on TikTok, sorry you can't see anything. Blame the app designers, not me. I have way too many things open right now. Let's put this on Do Not Disturb. Let's do our freaking thing. Also, side note, not that you guys are going to be affected by this at all, but I took a teaching certification exam like about a month ago, and the state that I work in like just switched testing vendors recently, and on the old one you got an unofficial score report that day, and on the new one I didn't, and I was like okay, and it was more expensive. Not only did I not get the official score report the day of, the results take a month. It was all multiple choice. The whole thing was multiple choice. Like, what do you mean? Like, the whole thing was multiple choice. The scores take a month. They were supposed to be up last night. They're still not up. I called today and they were like, yeah, there was a glitch. We don't have an estimated time of repair. And he said, we're still doing quality assurance. And on the phone, I literally said it was multiple choice. And he was like, yeah. I was like, and I asked, I was like, can I complain? I was like, is there someone I can complain to? And the guy on the phone was actually so nice. He was like, you should complain to your state, because if you complain internally, like, if you complain to your state, like, they're the customer. So he was like, call these people. I was like, damn, not you telling me, like, the exact people to call and complain about you guys. Oh yeah, it's election day. I hope you guys voted. I voted. There was not that much on the ballot for me. It was like a couple local offices, but one of them was the like utility regulation people, and you can believe I tried to vote out the incumbents because my bill has gone up dramatically. So, and I know that's the case in a lot of the Southeast. It's like utility companies are being deregulated. I'm a teacher who, if they called your sibling from a previous year, you got to call her sister's name. Huh? Here from TikTok, so happy to be able to see the stream live. How many first timers do we have? First time live after months of binging it on YouTube. That makes me so happy. Courtney Stodden stream was so good. I locked in. Just got to fix the titles. It's 112 right now. God damn it. The Courtney Stodden stream, I was so happy with the way the slides turned out, but I just felt like technology was like preying on my downfall, and it really, really was pissing me off. But that being said, for my new viewers, welcome, and for my usual viewers, welcome back. Before we get into Heidi Fleiss, I do have some updates to discuss with you. I already put this on Instagram, but I wanted to have like a little format update, I guess, because I was thinking about, there are lots of things I wanted to stream about, but I felt like it didn't fit the format of the stream. So I was like, let's think bigger, let's think badder, because I love doing the deep dives, and the thought of not doing the deep dives, I didn't like that because I like doing them, but I felt like I've been doing it for 3 years, and some weeks I didn't love the topics I was thinking of. Like, I don't like the feeling of digging at the bottom of the barrel for a topic when there's other things that I also want to talk about. You know what I'm saying? So this is kind of what the changes are happening. So this is called See You Next Tuesday with Miss Redacted. I really created a great name that I basically stole and then never said it. So that's perfect. So I'm going to kind of do a rough rotation between a few things. We're going to keep doing the deep dives because I love the deep dives. But the thing about the deep dives is they take a lot of research, and I want to do a better job researching them. Like, there's been some times that I felt like I was like rushing through the research, and like sometimes in some topics do need like 2-3 weeks of research and all of that. So definitely going to keep the deep dives. We'll probably still be doing the deep dives the majority of the time. But recently I've been really into reading, and I kind of want to do book reviews, but not in like a super like academic or professional way. And then the other thing, this is really what got my wheels turning, is I want to talk about online commotions. Online commotions is a term I've recently discovered / developed, where something crazy happens and everyone online is talking about it. Because there's been times that something crazy happened, and then everyone online was talking about it, and I already had a different stream planned, and I was like, oh, I kind of want to talk about that, but I don't have time to research that, but I like want to talk about what people are talking about, and I was like, let's just fucking do that sometimes. So what do I mean by online commotions? An example of this could be the Louvre robbery. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not a topic you can necessarily do a formatted deep dive on, but I think we definitely would have enough to talk about for a full hour and a half, 2 hours. So online commotions, like not just political things, but you know, like the mayor race in New York right now is really important. We can talk about that. Like any big news thing, that article that was like, is having a boyfriend lame now? Kind of those big viral online moments that I feel like sometimes I want to like just lock in on that when it happens. You almost got there with Charlie Kirk just by coincidence. How? When Queen Elizabeth died. So like Dick Cheney just died. I could be like, last minute change, there's an online commotion. Let me actually do a poll right now. Developing situations, exactly. So not so much like this where it's like planned and formatted out, but I would like pull things up live and we'd talk about it live. I'm going to do a little poll for those of you that are on YouTube or TikTok. I don't think you can vote in these. Disrupt schedule for online commotions. So kind of what I'm asking right now is like, that's the thing about online commotions is you don't know when they're going to happen. But I want to know, like, this is our current upcoming schedule. If something crazy happens, do you guys want me to be like, schedule's being adjusted, we're doing an online commotion tonight? And that's the poll that I just put, is like yes, no, or sometimes. To answer, yes, having a man is embarrassing. Yes, if having a boyfriend is lame, then let's switch gears right now. Christian nationalism planned right after Kirk kicked the bucket. Oh, right, I forgot that those two things happened at the same time. I was trying to figure out how to say this. Thank you. Love the online commotion. Such a good idea. Exactly. It's usually breaking news. Okay, most people are saying yes. Some people are saying just sometimes. I'll just use my judgment. Deep dives includes history stuff. Yes, deep dives include history stuff. Yeah, I consider those like pop culture history a part of deep dive. If we change schedules, will we just delay that topic for a week? Yes. It'll be a schedule adjustment, not an upheaval. I really appreciate the amount of time and research you put into the class and the stream. Thank you. Yeah, so I just felt like there was a lot more stuff that I wanted to talk about, and I really love this space, and I love this community, and I felt like it had just gotten a little, like, rigid, if that makes sense. And I was like, there's a lot more I want to discuss and do. And while we most likely wouldn't be mad about a topic change, you could put topic subject to delay in your promos if you want to cover your ass. Yeah, exactly. I think I probably won't put that in the promos. Maybe I'll put it up on like the calendar version of it. But yeah, I agree with you. Like if something crazy happens, we can like pop something to the next week. And that's kind of what I wanted, was to make this space a little bit more flexible, because my goal with this space and like what I believe it has turned into is that we weekly have, what is happening on my screen right now? What is that? Is it like a glare? What is happening? Sorry, something weird is happening on my phone. Anyway, we have like a weekly space for smart people to talk about things in like a cool way that's interesting and funny. And I didn't want that to be like a rigid, super, super formal thing, which I don't think it had turned into, but sometimes I would feel a little bit that way. I don't think it ever felt that way, but in planning it, I sometimes felt that way, if that makes sense. So that's why I kind of wanted to switch gears a little bit. So here's our upcoming schedule. Next week, we will be talking about Heather Gay from Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. That'll be a traditional deep dive, like as we normally do this. Monday, I'm doing something that Tuesday. I don't know what it is. What am I doing that Tuesday? I'm doing something that Tuesday. We're going to be talking about 432 Park Avenue. That is an ugly ass building in New York City. It's like the tall one that's like super tall and like sways in the wind, and the concrete's fucked up and it's cracking, and it's like a billionaire penthouse type place. That to me is like kind of an online commotion. That's somewhere between deep dive and online commotion, because I learned about it from online commotions about it. November 25th, that is going to be our first kind of like book club moment, but you don't have to have read it. You don't have to have read it. And I felt like the perfect book for us to start with is actually two books. Remember when we talked about the Real Life Hustlers, and I briefly told y'all how I read both of their books? Those are the books we're going to talk about. So I will I already, because I read them, have things I want to talk about, but I'm going to skim back through them and like annotate some stuff. So I'll like read live to you and things like that. And we'll talk about their books. I have so many thoughts about their books. Like, it's actually so bananas, and they're not very good objectively. And then December 2nd, we're going to do another traditional deep dive, and it'll be Tom Sandoval. So yeah, that is the other thing, is that there's a lot of stream topics that I read a book about later because the stream made me get into it, and I want to tell y'all about the books. So like, not all of them are going to be callbacks, but some of them are callbacks. Before I move on and get more into which books we're going to talk about in the coming months, let me see how we're feeling about this, because like, I do want y'all to enjoy this, so I don't want it to be like I'm like a dictator. If you want to keep doing deep dives, we can. Did you mean to cover Sandoval on the day of the new Vanderpump Rules premiere? No. Fuck yeah, though. Fuck yeah. Yeah. Maybe more people will watch this. That would be cool. Hell yeah. I love when fun things work out like that. That weirdness on my screen disappeared, whatever that was. Okay, I just did another poll, again, for the YouTube and TikTok people. Sorry, you can't participate in these. How are we feeling about this? Love it, hesitant but like it, no, or you're open to anything. Tara Westover. Oh, she is on the list, believe me. Okay, hesitant, but I like it. There's some people there. Lots of us saying I'm open to anything and lots of us saying I love it. Okay, the vibe isn't going to change. We're still going to be here once a week. It's just going to be a little bit different with introducing new things. Like nothing is being taken away. It's just kind of introducing new things is the way that I'm thinking of it. So like I said, the first books we are going to cover are going to be on November 25th. It's called Underscore is Samantha Barbush and The Sophisticated Hustler is Rosalind Keough. Like I said, not the best books I've read in my life. They're both very, very short, so we can talk about both of them in 1 week. Most weeks it's just going to be one book, but this one is going to be two. Are the reviews only going to be nonfiction? Maybe. I mostly read nonfiction, so probably, but I'm open to other things as well. Like I'm open to historical fiction. This is the rough thing. This is my rough list right now. I have already read most of these. I have not read all of them, but I've read most of what's on this list. Great question. Should we read the books? Totally up to you. Totally up to you. Like the lives or like the deep dives, if you don't read it, if you don't know anything about it, you're good. And if you're like, oh, I'm kind of interested in that, but I don't want to read a whole ass book about it, I think this will be very enjoyable. I think if you've read it, it'll be enjoyable in a different way where you are more like book clubby and less like, I just want to hear about this. Like, I think if you haven't read it now, so the Heather Gay books, I am not going to read both those books before next week. That's not happening. But later on, I will talk about them after we've already done a stream about her. So I feel like it'll just like be a nice little callback, or they could be watched isolated. I'm very excited about this. I was really excited to tell you guys about it. I knew it was going to take a while of our time tonight to tell you about it. But yeah, I'm pretty lit about it. And one thing that I noticed is when I put together this list of what I've read recently that I wanted to tell you guys about, that's not everything I've read recently. That's just the stuff I wanted to like talk about here. I realized there were no Black authors on the list, or really no authors of color. But then I also realized that I'm really just going to make fun of the books for the most part and like be judgmental and mean. So like maybe that worked out how it should have. You know what I'm saying? I just had that realization that I wanted to share with you all, because if it was a space of like admiring quality literature, I would be more intentional with like choosing a diverse amount of literature. But this is not going to be like a literature space. Like, look at the books. There's multiple Sister Wives books. There's multiple TLC books. Like, we're really just reading ghostwriters' books about details of celebrities. So I felt like it wasn't really the time to be like diversity, because I'm not going to say nice things. Oh, I'm not going to be hard on Britney Spears. Don't worry. A lot of them, when I say making fun of people, I mean the people they're talking about. Like Christine Brown Woolley's book. I audiobooked it, but I just read it. I have a lot to say about Cody Brown. I'm not going to make fun of Christine, but I learned a lot of information that I would like to share with you all. Love and Light to You. These are mostly blonde women. I also noticed that. And I think that is because most of these are TV books. And I think that says a lot about who we put on reality TV and give book deals to. See what I'm saying? Okay, so anyway, let's talk about Heidi. We've been here for 20 minutes and we haven't even talked about what we're here to talk about. So books will be incoming. That is just a list of books I've read recently that I want to talk about. That's not like a schedule or anything formal like that. So let's go ahead and talk about Miss Heidi Fleiss. We are going to start off with this Crime Watch video about her. This gives a nice little summary. I think this is a very good starting place. Today is going to be in a rough chronological order. The book category is white nonsense. Exactly. You get it. Thank you. Thank you, Selkie dolls. You're getting it. You're getting it. It's white nonsense. So that's why I was like, if it's white nonsense, you verbalized what I could not verbalize perfectly. Thank you. Jeanette McCurdy's book, that's another one that I want to read. Okay, so let's get into Heidi Fleiss. This is going to be a nice little summary, and then we're going to get into a couple like journalistic views of this over time from different perspectives of the people involved.
Not in this generation, not in any generation, will there ever be another madam like me. It's not going to happen. No one will be 25 years old, living above the Beverly Hills Hotel, buying their home from Michael Douglas, sending girls all over the world, living that life. It's just never going to happen again.
In 1990, the Hollywood Madam launched
Time magazine,
high-end escort, rich and famous.
People of the world or whatever probably have done business with me. These are people that can change the economy of a country. People who run the world.
And I believe her.
Some like internet madam or something. When I was a little girl, I ran a babysitting business, and that, I think, had a lot to do with, believe it or not, later on with the sex business, because I was probably 13, had 10, 12 girls working for me. I wasn't available, say, on a Friday night, so I would call a friend to go babysit the kid, and I would take some money for it. So I did start kind of at a young age.
So she started a babysitting ring where she would take commission for like putting different teenage girls on babysitting jobs.
The money.
The woman many call Madam to the Stars was busted by a multi-agency task force.
People do live vicariously through that world because it was fun.
I know she's not blonde, but does she have a book?
I don't blame her.
Tragically.
It was great. I bought a beautiful home. I drove Ferraris. I had the best of everything. I made it so any girl who pulled up to my house looked at it and went, oh my God, whatever she is doing, I want to do it because I want all this. These are very attractive women, very smart women who are looking to meet wealthy men anyways. The most beautiful women on earth. Their husbands would call me.
Fleiss, who faces federal charges of income tax evasion and money laundering, also faces drug and pandering charges on the state level.
When I got in trouble, yeah, I could have sunk a ship. I could have brought a lot of people down. A sex scandal can ruin a company.
Charlie Sheen's documentary is where I first heard about her.
A sex scandal can be the death sentence.
To this day, she has refused to reveal the contents of her black book.
I don't think they ever were. If I did some tell-all book, which every criminal seems to do, and even people who are not criminals do, I probably could change my financial situation immediately, but it's not me. Tom and Heidi.
I'm real proud to be here, and I'm proud to be here with my girlfriend.
Tom Sizemore and I had a wonderful relationship, but the drugs got out of control, and we made a mess of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I need a rich boyfriend or girlfriend. I don't care what they are, male or female, they just have to be rich. I can't date anyone poor. I have enough problems of my own.
Remember, Chad, they got Al Capone on tax evasion.
By being a madam, it didn't give me skills forever. I was forced out of business, and I didn't have, what am I going to do, apply for a job somewhere? I decided I'm going to move to Temecula and grow medical marijuana legally with these two lesbians I had met.
She's a very frank. I like her personally.
My good friend Dennis Hoff of HBO's Cat House, who I love dearly, does happen to own 50% of all the legal brothels in the United States of America. One of his brothels I'm thinking about running because I'm so broke.
She's so real.
There's a dying madam. I'm submissive to bedridden madams. A dying madam's last words were, Heidi, you take care of my birds. And I said, no. And she dropped dead. And here I am now. Jeez.
Crazy girl?
The truth
So that...
about Heidi, I'm not a nice person. I have a terrible reputation, probably most of it well-deserved. I don't know why people think I'm a celebrity. I was just arrested and put on TV. I'll always be the Hollywood madam.
So that is kind of a summary. Let's go ahead and get into it. Oh, I'm already obsessed with her. So Fleiss was born in 1965 to a Jewish family in Los Feliz, Los Angeles. Her father is a well-known pediatrician and her mother was an elementary school teacher. She was a teenager when her parents got divorced. She had a lot of siblings. Her parents were apparently like total hippies. Like her mom would give birth at home with like all the kids in the room. Like it was kind of a lot. So she has 2 brothers and 3 sisters. One of her brothers drowned in his 40s, which is really sad. Fleiss dropped out of high school when she was 16 and got a high school equivalency, I guess a GED. She briefly attended Valley College and later Santa Monica College, but school was just not for her. She worked as a waitress and then she began a relationship with Bertie Cornfield, a very, very rich financer. A financer is a rich person that invests things, and that's just their life now. So who the fuck is Bernie Cornfield, and why is he dating this teenager who's like 18, 19 years old? So he's a prominent businessman and international financer. He sold investments to U.S. mutual funds, but later on he was tried and acquitted for mismanagement of investors' overseas services. He looks absolutely horrifying. I just want to start off and say that I really don't appreciate his vibe at all. Yes, she is a Capricorn. I am also a Capricorn. Maybe that's why I like her. So I don't like his vibe. I can see it in his eyes. I don't like him. So I Googled him just trying to get more about him. And I found this weird random old bloggy website. And this is what it said about him. Do you sincerely want to be rich? With these 7 words, Bernard Cornfield lured many an investor to the insurance and investment fund he launched in Paris, registered in Panama, and ran from Geneva, ultimately scamming hundreds of millions of dollars in the process. His fund, Investors Overseas Services, originally pitched itself at European-based American GIs, so like soldiers, I guess, before going wide and employing thousands of door-to-door salesmen who competed with each other to earn an overseas trip, bonuses, and if really good, visits to their bosses' homes in the French Riviera and Beverly Hills. It was essentially an elaborate pyramid scheme. The people at the top were paid by lowers down who had to work to find new clients to bring them in. An apocryphal story cites one of his salesmen who was caught in the Belgian Congo during a coup, so probably not where I would want to be personally, around all those human rights violations. Cornfield received the hapless salesman's telegraph reading insurrection, sadism, and rape, being like, hey, shit's getting fucking real down here. Shit's getting real. Let's get out of here. This is what Bernie replied. Okay, but is he doing any business? So that's him. Thanks to such sheer-mindedness, he was flying high by the mid-1960s, splitting his time between his French mansion and his former home in LA. He rolled with up to 20 women at a time. He financed the Playboy Mansion, and he also dated Heidi Fleiss when she was a teenager. I couldn't find any pictures of them together, but I did find his various pictures of him with all these random women, and I just cannot reiterate how much I hate this motherfucker's vibe. You're a part of imperialism, you're running a pyramid scheme, and it looks like you're a predator. I'm fucking sorry. If you're an old ass man and you have a picture with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teenage 20-something girls around you, that is not a good look for you. Look at that little fuck ass leg hanging out. I hate men like this. Disgusting, diabolical. I'm not here for it. He looks like he runs a cult, and not a fun one. Not a fun one. Some cults are at least fun for a little bit. His does not look like it would be. So, I feel like I messed something up here. So who is Elizabeth Adams? This is another important player in Heidi's early teenage life. I felt like I bridged that earlier. This is why I want to put more time into this. So anyway, Elizabeth Adams is known as Madam Alex or simply Alex Adams. I don't know how you get Alex from Elizabeth, but whatever, I guess. She is originally from Manila with Filipino, German, and Spanish ancestry. I feel like I said that wrong. And she arrived in San Francisco at the age of 17 in 1951. She had married twice by the early 1970s and then had been divorced and widowed once. By her own account, after a period as a florist and the owner of an antique shop, she switched to becoming a madam in 1971 after buying a book from a visiting English madam for $5,000. So buying a book basically means a list of clients and phone numbers, but half the people in that book were dead. So she operated a prostitution ring in Beverly Hills for more than 20 years under the fake name Alex Fleming. So I guess Elizabeth Adams is her actual name. She sent young women in hotels in Beverly Hills and on cruises, charging $300 for 2 hours and up to $2,000 for a whole day, including periods for accompanying men to Europe and on cruises in the Caribbean. By the late 70s, about 80% of her clients were from the Middle East, especially Saudi Arabia. She conducted most of her business from bed, using the telephone for discussions with her clients. I watched a couple documentaries and movies based on this story, and everyone showed her just sitting in bed on the phone counting money all the time. So according to Vanity Fair, Madame Alex had about 150 women working for her at her peak and was earning $100,000 a month by taking a 40% cut. She was assisted by Sydney Biddles Barrows, the so-called Mayflower Madam of Manhattan. After law enforcement testified that Elizabeth Adams had provided information about homicide suspects, drug dealers, and terrorists, they basically agreed that she should get probation after she got arrested for running this prostitution ring, because she had been an informant for them for years. So the tea that they didn't really include in this article is basically that the LAPD was cool with prostitution as long as they were getting information out of it or free sex out of it. So she was kind of giving them information about crime in order for them to leave her the fuck alone. But then she got arrested and they were like, we'll just give you probation, I guess. So she later claimed that Heidi Fleiss, who she had been a mentor for, stole her list of clients. Fleiss said that she was Adams' assistant at the time of her own arrest in 1993, but a female officer of the LAPD alleged that Heidi Fleiss was Adams' number one girl. So that's how these two know each other, and I wanted to give you the context of who this was. I think we are going to have to do a stream about Madame Alex. There was a lot of lore about her that I left out, and how she was involved in lots of things. And she was in this article this one time. Very interesting person, the original Work From Home baddie. So back to Heidi. At the age of 22, Heidi began managing a prostitution ring under Madame Alex after meeting her in 1987. So if you recall back to Madame Alex, she started being a madam in the late 70s, or in the 70s. So this is in the 80s, so when she's super powerful. She met Madame Alex because of her film director boyfriend, Ivan Nagy. I think Naj is how they pronounced it in the movies I watched. So a different thing that I read said that they met in 1988, and that it just said that Heidi was introduced to Madame Alex. So let's call it the late 80s, and these are young pictures and old pictures of Ivan. So you might be like, what happened to Bernie? There seems to have been a little bit of overlap between Bernie and Ivan. No shade. No shade. I just find it interesting that a young, vulnerable woman is brought into sex work by an older boyfriend. Okay. Cool. Everything's so predictable all the time, which is awesome. So Heidi Fleiss stated in 2002 that Alex and she had a very intense relationship, and that Alex's view of Fleiss was kind of like the daughter she loved and hated, so she was abusive and loving at the same time. In the same interview, Heidi said that she was working as a prostitute for a very short amount of time where she learned all the aspects of the trade. She said that she was learning to take over Alex's business, and there was a labor shortage. Most of Alex's prostitutes were approaching middle-aged and planning to retire from prostitution. And when they say prostitution, they are not referring to people doing sex work in the format of walking the street or posting ads online. Again, this is the 80s. They're referring to high-end escort services at hotels. That's just to be transparent what they're talking about. Where was I? So Alex had Fleiss revitalize the business by recruiting a batch of young, attractive women. So even though there's some disagreement about the who, the when, the where, or the what, it seems like the concrete facts that we know is that Ivan brought Heidi to Alex. Alex and Heidi were working together in some capacity. It seemed that's the facts of the situation. So by 1990, Fleiss had severed her links with Madame Alex and began running her own prostitution ring. Fleiss has stated that she made her first $1 million after only 4 months in business as a madam, and that on her slowest nights, she made $10,000. I never thought about how there would be business project managers running organizations like that. Kind of similar to drug dealers or the mafia. If you've ever watched those crime TV shows like The Wire or The Sopranos, things like that, if you think about it, at the end of the day, it is an organization with lots of people in it. That's a money-making organization and is a profitable business. So in some aspects, it does run very similar to a quote-unquote normal business. By 1991, Heidi Fleiss was so successful that she was able to reject women who wanted to work for her. But in June 1993, she was arrested on charges including attempted pandering. And charges were filed officially in 1994. So very quick rise and fall. Tragic, I hate to say it, but very, very quick rise and fall. So let's go ahead and get into it and kind of how the fuck that happened and what it was like when it was good. So here's some pictures of Heidi, like in this era, 1993, 1994. Like we said, it's not like she was a powerful madam for like 20 years the way that Alex was. It seemed like it was really like a 2 or 3 year period, relatively short-lived. But you can see Heidi Does Hollywood. She's literally stunning. I watched a lot of like news documentaries, interviews, things with the people involved, and a lot of people were like, oh, she was always insecure because the other girls were prettier than her, and like she was a madam because she wasn't like hot enough to be a prostitute. I think she's literally fucking stunning. She was in People magazine, like very much in the media. So where I wanted to start in our like true deep dive is let's look at the coverage of the time. This is from February 1st, 1994. This is a Vanity Fair article. It is very long and very detailed, but it's really good and gives us so much detail about this time. So for 2 years, Heidi Fleiss was the reigning madam of Hollywood and the keeper of the town's most intimate secrets. Since her arrest, industry heavyweights have been holding their collective breath as Fleiss wheels and deals, starting a sleepwear line and bartering sordid tales, including prominent names from her infamous black books. As she awaits trial, Files gives Lynn Hirschberg what everyone wants, an unprecedented account of her dizzying ride. They came to her house to do the interview, so it switches back and forth between like them talking about what she's doing at her house and their research, kind of like the BuzzFeed articles we've read. What you need is a condom, Heidi Fleiss is saying, waving a long strip of maroon Trojans. She is striding purposefully through her Benedict Canyon house, a house that she's rarely left since she was arrested on pandering and drug charges last June. For the past several months, her life has been a nonstop frenzy. All summer and fall, reporters hounded Heidi for her story. They wanted names, places, girls, anything linked to Heidi. Helicopters circled her house, desperate for a glimpse of the Hollywood madam, the 27-year-old girl who provided LA's richest and most renowned men with $1,500 a night call girls. Some 250 interview requests came in every day, but Heidi wouldn't talk. I'm not Madonna. I don't want to be famous. This is her house. It looks fucking lit. Like, the house is lit. I would love that pool. And that's what apparently her house was known for, is that there were always tons of beautiful women around. They were always doing drugs there, and they were always having a party and swimming in the pool. Apparently that was the vibes. But she is better than famous. Heidi is infamous. In a town that measures worth by how much power one wields, Heidi is a force. A lot of people are afraid of me, and they should be. Leaders of countries called me and asked for sex. You look at any picture of a politician with some girls around them, and at least 3 of them will be mine. If I came out and really talked, I could have stopped NAFTA. Today, marching through her house, she does look a bit fierce. She's dressed in all black, blah, blah, blah. You should always use protection. I could certainly use some. And then she starts asking her model friend, what do you think of my sleepwear? This is like in the middle of the trial. She like starts a sleepwear line, which like I barely get into because I like couldn't even handle it amongst all of this. The model looks relieved, but he's not sure how to react. CNN is at her house. The models are all her friends because she, like I said, I think she's smart. She said, I want to show the sleepwear on multiple different bodies. So she has her 16-year-old brother, some bigger guys there, 2 linebacker size guys trying on the double XLs, a 50-something guy. Like, I think it's a good ad campaign. As it turns out, Heidi had a crush on Fig when she was still in her teens. Nearly everyone here today has a similar connect-the-dots history with Heidi. Since leaving home at 16, she's lived in one scene after another, and this house is the biggest nonstop party of them all. There were 25 girls here at a time, says Susie Sterling, a dizzy blonde Heidi calls the sex toy. It was a girls' camp. Casa Heidi still has the feel of a sorority. It's a party house. The wood floors are bare throughout, and there's very little furniture. The periphery of the house is enclosed by French doors that look out on a spectacular view of LA. You feel like you own the town from here, Heidi says. In the moment, she's giving a tour of the $1.6 million spread. Now that house is worth like $15 million. These are the fig trees. They're supposed to bring me good luck. But today, the spectator of the last few months and the fact that she's facing up to 11 years in jail are overshadowed by the demands of sleepwear. We've got to get this going, she says, shepherding her troops into the kitchen. The last time Heidi tried to promote her line was with a photo shoot for a London newspaper, and the experience was a disaster. Sorry. I had to take a Valium, Heidi says. I don't want that to happen again. Today she's calmer. Pay attention, she says, particularly to Susie, who is studying the bulletin board in the kitchen. The pushpin collage is a microcosm of Heidi's world. Tacked up are an engraved invitation to the Clinton inaugural ball. She was literally, when she says like, oh, I could have taken down NAFTA, I fucking believe her. A sticker from the Mustang Ranch in Nevada where prostitution was legal and some snapshots of happier times. Susie, Heidi says, verbally smacking her. What are we doing? As the models parade past the CNN cameras and onto the patio outside the kitchen, Victoria Sellers burst in, who's photographed on the right. She's dressed in a black catsuit and combat boots with 2 5-month-old pit bull puppies yipping at her heels. What's going on? She asked the guy doing makeup in the dining room. Oh my God, I forgot all about this. I have an interview. It's towards the end where she talks about the Epstein stuff. I believe her. She darts off to the bedroom and then tries to get ready. The bedroom is filthy. A would-be actress. She posed topless for Playboy in 1986. She has a messy legal past. Sellers was arrested after testifying against her friend. She wound up with probation. I'm always around some controversy. Now there's this Heidi thing. Heidi seems to be very close to the few women that do stay in this house with her. Victoria and Heidi met in Palm Springs when they were 16. Heidi was taken with Victoria's lineage and connections. She grew up with a string of her mother's boyfriends from Rod Stewart to Warren Beatty. Victoria was impressed with Heidi's nerve and innate business sense. Heidi's smart, says Victoria. When she puts her mind to something, she gets it. Victoria, meanwhile, is scattered and disorganized, a charming mess. Like most of Heidi's girls, she lives a vampire life. Victoria is a nymphomaniac, adds Heidi. We had contests on how many guys she could go out with simultaneously. So they basically are just over-sexualizing Victoria. And Victoria denies this. She's like, I like sex, but I'm not crazy, blah, 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 blah. The exchange is witnessed by Jesse Fleiss, who says nothing. That is Heidi's younger brother. She seems to be very close to their family. They will come up more in this. He says nothing, just stares at Victoria. The CNN cameras are still filming. CNN decides to shoot some inserts inside the house. Heidi pulls Victoria, who she affectionately calls Toast, into the shot. They banter about the sleepwear, specifically their jointly designed upcoming line for women, which will be ready on Valentine's Day. You're very serious about this, says Sherry Sylvester, an entertainment correspondent for CNN. I take everything very seriously, replies Heidi. When CNN has packed up and left, Jesse continues bounding over. You were great, he tells his sister. I think some of Victoria's friends brought her drugs. Don't be mad at her. This is a Vanity Fair person in the house just watching this. This is very much reminding me of the Gabby Hanna interview. Heidi looks like she's going to implode. The idea of Victoria scoring drugs while CNN is less than a foot away is too outrageous to be believed. Someone with a joint on them can get me in trouble now, Heidi says. I have a prescription for Valium and that's it. But Victoria denies that she ever received drugs. Heidi reflects for a moment. Listen to me. I don't sound like myself. She stares at Jesse. I can't have fun anymore. I used to have fun and now I don't. Things will never be the same again. This story isn't about sex. You think it would be. A Hollywood madam, high-priced call girls, powerful clients, lingerie, the rest. It sounds like sex, but it's not. This is a story about boredom and restlessness and control. Mostly about control. About who wanted it, who had it, and how they thought they got it. That is the contest, between the girls, between the clients and the girls, between everybody, including the police. It wasn't about sex, it was about who thought they were winning and who won. It's a very bright winter day, and Heidi is sitting at a glass table in her dining room. She's wearing all white leggings, white tennis shoes, and a white thermal t-shirt. On her left hand, she's wearing a large diamond ring. This is from the richest guy in Brazil, she says. I like wearing it with sweatpants because it looks so Arab. I know it's 1994, but come on. Heidi is leafing through a large red scrapbook filled with clippings and snapshots from the last few months. My sister Shayna started collecting this after all the troubles began. I call it the troubles, she smiles, realizing how civilized and ladylike this sounds. It's an odd posse because there's something innately raw about Heidi, something almost feral. She's one of the people that was never young, one of those people who imagined a big life. I always had my own agenda, she says. I was always looking for something else. Heidi grew up one of 6 children in the middle-class section of Los Angeles, not Beverly Hills, insists Ivan Naj, her erstwhile lover. Heidi was desperate to get west of Doney. Her father, Dr. Paul Fleiss, is a prominent pediatrician, and her mother taught elementary school. She was terrible in school. She said, I lied to my parents for a year and told them I was going to school. I goofed around instead. I was restless as hell. She mostly hung out at the beach and the Santa Ana racetrack. Heidi likes to gamble, says Anthony Brooklier, her attorney. She'll bet on which raindrop will make it down the window first. In 1984, a friend invited Heidi to a party at the estate of Bernie Cornfield, a notorious financier. I say to her, "Who owns this place?" says Heidi, who was 19 at the time, and she pointed to Bernie. Heidi has a predilection for older men. "I don't like them under 45, she says. Just show me a 60-year-old guy with $1 million. Point me in that direction. For the next 4 years, Heidi traveled the world with Cornfield, who once dated such beauties such as Victoria Principal and is a multimillionaire. I told my parents I was his secretary, she explains. Bernie was my first real relationship. I didn't lose my virginity until I was almost 18. I'm real slow. I'd go to bed at night and say, I just did it. And I was like, this is so painful, I will die. I will never do this again. I'll be a nun. No way I'll do this again. And now what am I supposed to be? The biggest fucker on earth. Like you said, you've covered so many interviews conducted in a home lately, and they're all a lot. They are all a lot. Like, it's always a lot. They don't do journalism like this anymore. We do, baby. We do. She laughs. Bernie and my relationship started falling apart in the Bahamas, she recalls. He couldn't be monogamous. Her parents were still oblivious, believing that she was his secretary. Yet Heidi was and is a daddy's girl. Her father has looked out for her financially throughout her life. The registration for her 1992 black-on-black Corvette and her house are both in his name. Paul Fleiss preferred to be blind because his daughter was dating Bernie Cornfield, the 60-year-old man, says a source close to Heidi. He was shocked when he found out his daughter was a madam. All those years, he thought Heidi was selling real estate. When Heidi and Cornfield were quarreling over his womanizing, she flew back to LA and went out with some friends to Helena's, the hottest club of 1988. There, she met Ivan Nash. So that's how I was telling you there was some crossover. He was born in Budapest, Hungary, or Budapest, I think. Nash was a successful photographer and TV director of shows such as Starsky and Hutch, but when Heidi met him, he was working as a bookie. So I made a bet with him, remembers Heidi, and I happened to win. I went straight to the Bahamas and Ivan followed me there. I did not know he was a lunatic. Not yet. They were a match. She has always been a sparring partner, recalls Naj. Yet in 1989, Heidi claims Naj sold her to Elizabeth Adams, known as Madam Alex, the most powerful madam in LA, in order to settle a $450 gambling debt. Naj denies this vehemently. Obviously, I didn't want her to work. The last thing I wanted to do was sell her to Alex. But you did sell her to Alex for $450? $450. That was his job, maintains Heidi. He'd sell people to Alex. Alex had him collect money, scare girls, do errands. For this, she'd get him laid and pay him too. A month before she turned 23, Heidi says Alex and Naj sent her out on her first date. I got fucked up on drugs, she recalls, cocaine and Quaaludes, and they talked me into having sex with an Arab at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel for $5,000. He was so nice, he paid me in traveler's checks, and I gave $2,000 to Ivan. I wasn't scared because I was fucked up. So we're coming in like so hot. Like right off the bat, we are coming in guns a-blazing. There were other encounters, but it just wasn't happening, Heidi says, although other girls claim she took to the business instantly. I went to Vegas with 2 other girls once. We met these Arabs who were like the ugliest things on earth. They were so gross. I locked myself in the room. I wouldn't touch him. They were like, who am I gonna fuck? And I said, not for all the money in the world. Boundary setting, period. Alex was not immediately impressed with Heidi. Why are you bringing me this thing? Alex recalls telling Naj, she was a 5. I deal in 10s. But Heidi was smarter than most of Alex's girls, and they grew close. We'd giggle, Alex says now. Like, Alex is in multiple interviews, which is crazy to me. We'd get bored at night, and we'd call up other madams and ask them about girls. They'd think they were being taped and freak out. Alex pauses. I was more than good to Heidi. She was so respectful, and I was flattered. She's a freak. Men are fascinated by freaks. They become obsessed. Heidi is lovable in her way when she's not being a twat. Heidi is intrigued by the business and began to believe she could take over Alex's clients and girls. It starts like anything else, says Naj. You know, you work for a law firm. The next thing you know, some client says, listen, I don't like the firm, but I like you. And you set up your own office, and now you're the law firm. Heidi accumulated a lot of numbers, and all of a sudden people started calling her up, and it started. I changed the rules, Heidi says rather gleefully. I'd tell the guys, you get what you pay for. You can find girls for less, but they're not the best. Mine are the best. I saw it as a way that girls could really take advantage of men, and we did exactly that. Every man was taken advantage of. I'd tell the girls, don't ever sell out, leave if you want, you're the boss, you're in charge. These are some pictures of Heidi from this era where she's like a top madam. She has the house. She has all the girls. Traveler's Checks is crazy. I'm sensing a certain pattern with how she talks about Arabs. I do too, but then remember that the madam that she worked for, Madam Alex, 80% of her clients were Arabs. We'll say men from the Middle East. Think about the men who come to the United States who like work for the government and get prostitutes. Probably not the greatest impression. Like, not to blame them for her dislike of them, but you get what I'm saying. And again, this is from 1994. I think that's important to remember. This is not a recent interview. This interview is from active during the trial in 1994. You're the reason I fell back in love with teaching, just so you know. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Good for you though. I'm happy for you. Same. Here's some more pictures of Heidi during this time. Super glamorous. Like I said, I think she's fucking gorgeous. Madam Alex says she's a 5, but I think she's a 10. Heidi's standard fee for a girl was $1,500 a night, of which she kept $900, but that was on the low end. Often men would pay thousands more, especially if a girl had to travel. Heidi's business grew rapidly. Unlike Alex, who was 60 years old, diabetic, and rarely left her house, Heidi was young and attractive and extremely social. She was always out on the town at such spots such as the Monkey Bar and Morton's. She was the madam of the moment. In LA, it's a small clique, says one prominent agent. We all go to the same florist, the same dentist, and the same madam. When one person knows someone, everybody gets in on it. In the spring of '92, Heidi and Victoria decided to run on the rocks, a club on Sunset Boulevard owned by record mogul Lou Adler, Victoria's stepfather. They kept it exclusive, only open Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. It was a party, recalls Victoria. Most of the Brat Packers, Jude Nelson, Sean Penn, Charlie Sheen, were regulars, as were rock stars like Billy Idol and the whole 90210 crew. We let in who we wanted, and a lot of people were upset, says Heidi proudly. A lot of people were jealous because we had the key. The parties continued back at the house. Heidi was taking a lot of drugs, says a friend, echoing others. She would snort crystal meth and take drugs like Mandrax, which are Quaaludes. She still does. In fact, it's gotten worse. Again, 1994. Heidi denies she's on drugs. I'm not a nun, she admits, but I've never smoked a cigarette and I've only smoked dope twice in my life. I do take a Quaalude or a Percodan once in a while since I've been in trouble. By the end of '92, Heidi's business was blooming. She says she was having an affair with her longtime crush, James Caan, visiting him on the set of Flesh and Bone in Texas. He denies any involvement with this. She was living the life she had always longed for. Fast cars, beautiful clothes, big houses. Then came my downfall, she says rather sadly. Heidi leafs through the huge scrapbook. She pulls out a clipping from the LA Times dated December 14th, 1992. This is where I fucked my whole life up. The article is about a robbery of Madame Alex's jewels, which she blamed on a 26-year-old former creature of hers. The reporter Sean Hubuler interviewed Heidi, although he did not quote her by name, but they knew it was me, Heidi said. The police knew. In the article, she denied the robbery charge. The real thieves were later apprehended, but she bragged about her business. What took Alex years to build, I built in one. It's just hard for Madame Alex to accept her ship has sunk and she's been forced out. Heidi's arrogance reckled some powerful people. In the 2 years she was a top madam, she had made numerous enemies. Naj was out to nail her. Alex, a police informer, was miffed and resentful. Several girls felt like she had mistreated them, and most importantly, the LAPD felt that her remarks in the Times were a direct hit to them. The LAPD felt that she was laying down a challenge because she was publicly saying, like, I'm a madam, basically. From that point, I knew the future would be different, she says, now carefully placing the clippings back in a scrapbook. From then on, I was always looking over my shoulder. On the evening of April 6, 1993, Beverly Hills detective Sammy Lee drove his red Ferrari Testarossa to the Rangoon Racket Club to meet Heidi Fleiss. Posing as Nico Akai, a rich businessman from Japan, he asked Heidi if she could arrange entertainment for several clients that would be coming to town in a couple of months. Everyone knew he was a cop but me, Heidi says, shaking her head. I'm just the biggest sucker. So this is a depiction of her like getting caught by this undercover Beverly Hills detective. This movie was good. I watched it.
Heidi.
Party, girls everywhere, swim, pool.
Heidi.
Yeah,
It's Nikki Akai. You know from Hawaii?
remind me?
We met at the Rangoon Racket Club.
I remember now.
Some of my business associates are going to be in Los Angeles for a couple of days. I wonder if you could help me out with the entertainment.
Just call me when you get into town. It won't be a problem.
And how much will it be for a night?
5,000 a
And
girl.
what do I get for that?
Everybody's gonna have a good time.
So she literally just said exactly what her business is to a police officer. Not the smartest thing to do. In June, Lee called again and arranged to meet Heidi at the Beverly Hilton to set up the date. It's a cheaper hotel, Heidi says, but again with the Arabs. But sometimes Arabs rent out 2 floors, and when I got there was a fax machine hooked up, and a fax came with Chinese writing on it, so I said, maybe he's not a vice cop. He asked for a girl, Heidi continues, and I spent 20 minutes bragging like a total idiot. I was like, you get what you pay for, what Alex took 10 years to do, I've done in 1. I was so dumb. He said, can I pay with pakalolo, which is apparently Hawaiian slang for marijuana? And she said, no pakalolo, no yen. It was abnormal for a legitimate business person to say. Either I had a terrible hangover that day or I came straight from the racetrack, but I wasn't too sharp. She asked him to describe his dream girl, tall, slender, and brunette. And Heidi sent Samantha Burdett, who resembles a late Natalie Wood, to Lee's hotel room that night. Samantha is a typical Heidi girl. Strikingly lovely, she left Colorado when she was a teenager for glamorous... Okay, I don't really care that much about Samantha. Moving on. According to the police report, they met in the evening, they chatted, he paid the $1,500, she undressed to panties and bra, but then he canceled the date, claiming he had pressing business, allowed her to keep the money. The next night, he asked for 3 more girls and 2 8-balls of cocaine, recalls Heidi. Then Charlie Sheen called me and said he wanted some coke as a favor. Sheen would not respond to any questions regarding his involvement in Heidi. Another client asked for Mandrax, and I got them. I threw the Mandrax in the back of my car. That day I went out in the sun. I was disturbed all day. I was on a sobriety kick. I had started going to the gym. I took Soma, a muscle relaxer, but that day I was feeling really weird. I was on a sobriety kick, but I took a muscle relaxer. She could be a damn good life coach with how blunt she is. She is very blunt, which made me enjoy the research on this, because a lot of people lie about themselves, and it makes it really hard to make a stream about them. Around 8:30, it was one of the clearest, most beautiful nights. They arrived. 20 cops and 4 dogs, all at my house. Meanwhile, over at the Hilton, the cops who were posing as Japanese businessmen were asking for straight sex and some oral sex, had each paid $1,500. They asked the 4 girls to perform a little dance, and then after all parties disrobed, a task force busted in and arrested the girls. Back at Heidi's, they seized 13 grams of cocaine and some traveler checks, signed by Charlie Sheen, as well as Heidi's black book, which was actually several red Gucci notebooks. Heidi was charged and released on a $100,000 bail, which she had to get from a bail bondsman. Though she had been pulling in hundreds of thousands of dollars, she was always spending more than she makes. She was booked and busy, it appears. At police headquarters, her girls started to talk and talk. In no time flat, they all agreed to cooperate and testify against Heidi. A madam's nightmare is to have girls testify against her, says Alex. It drives a stake to your heart. Heidi has 4 girls testifying against her. You have to ask yourself, why are her girls so disloyal? So shit came crashing down expeditiously. There were lots of drugs. There was a lot going on. It's a complicated question. The world of high-end prostitution in LA is divided into warring factions. There are core cliques of girls in each camp, and they are most vicious towards one another. The whole scene is eerily reminiscent of 7th grade, except instead of girls passing notes in class or fighting with one another over the quarterback on the football team. Sorry, I can't with some of this writing. So anyway, they call the police and inform on one another and work feverishly to destroy their rival's business. So they basically make reports on each other because they're warring. A typical phone message for Heidi from a girl loyal to Naj goes, did you take a cut from the girls after the cops busted them? Did you take your fucking 40%? I bet you fucking did. It's just the beginning, you know. Every fucking agency from the CIA to the NBA to the PTA to the IRS are going to knock on your fucking door. We're your fucking worst nightmare. You can't fuck with us. Whoa. And so on. It's true that girls will be girls, and yet at the same time, there's a different affection and grudging respect against the sworn enemies. No matter what happens, whether they testify against Heidi or sell their stories to the tabloids or steal her clothes, Heidi will forgive almost any girl almost anything. Hookers have no life, explains Naj. Their only friends are other hookers. That's the club. They live and die for the club. But you accept the club for what it is. To be a hooker, you just have to accept you're living a lie. And you can only be yourself with other working girls. The rest is a lie. Oh, Spanberger won in Virginia? Yay. I don't really know that much about the races right now, but I take it that's good news. One of the non-female ringleaders of the anti-Heidi faction was a former limo driver who now works as a bodyguard for Billy Idol. Natoli had been dating Claudia Carcinelli, another Heidi girl. What is happening? Man, I need to turn this off. I'm turning TikTok off because my phone actually feels like it's about to explode. Love you guys, but goodbye. Oh my god, and now it like wants me to do all these verifications. Like I kind of fucking can't with you. Is it that hot? Let me see. Okay, no, I think it'll be okay. That was just weird. It says I'm not active. Like, sorry, I'm not fucking dancing. I'm talking. I'm literally red from talking. Where was I? I think I'm going to skip over some of this. Okay. There were other complaints about Heidi. People said that she taped clients on the phone to help them to get them to pay the money they owed, that she overcharged, that she borrowed money from girls as her drug problem grew, and worst of all, she dropped girls. She can be all over you wanting to know stuff and then she just lets you go. She's cold. Heidi tosses people away. This may be true, but she seems remarkably forgiving towards girls that were busted. I can't get mad at them. I just can't. The police tried to get us to turn on each other, but I won't turn on them. Not those girls. I just know them. I know them. I do have multi-stream. It just hates TikTok. Like TikTok rejects it. Like it's not the multi-stream, it's the TikTok, and it kicks it off like every single week. Another day, another drama. It's Wednesday and Heidi is driving her white 67 Mustang convertible, a gift from Bernie Cornfield, to the office of her lawyer, Anthony Brooklier. 2 nights ago, Susie was driving the Corvette and was pulled over. The registration on the car had expired and Susie had some marijuana in her purse. Just 2 joints. I can't help it. I like to get high. The car was impounded and Susie was thrown in jail. Heidi got a bail bondsman to spring her a cost of $10,000, but Heidi hasn't had time to get the Corvette back. She said she doesn't want to wait in line at the DMV. Too many people. They'll stare. Besides, she's got more pressing concerns. Tapes of more than 60 hours of phone conversations made right after she was arrested are being offered to news organizations and publications, including Vanity Fair. Most people believe the tapes were made illegally by Dan Hanks, a known FBI informant, but there are those who think a tap on Heidi's phone was authorized the police and that someone, probably Hanks, simply broke into an existing tap. So like she has the police tapping her phone. It's crazy to me that Vanity Fair is inside her house, like getting this information fucking live. In any case, the tapes have Heidi in a panic. There's lots of phone sex on there, she says, making a left on Sunset Boulevard. But I'm mostly worried about Evans. Robert Evans is a legendary producer with a colorful history of success with women, Heidi says. A dear friend, he was never a boyfriend, although she claims she would marry him in a flash. These are some pictures from the trial. So she was arrested. You saw the charges that she was arrested on. She was really only working in this business for a couple of years. And during the trial, she basically said all of her friends and family, not her family, we'll get to that later, all of her friends who she considered family and these partying people really just completely dropped her and like stopped talking to her and didn't support her at all. Evans had a difficult time in the past few years, and the tapes, it had apparently become clear he was worried about whether Stanley Jaffe, the head of Paramount Communications, would extend Evans' producing deal with the studio. On the tapes, he and Heidi hatch a plan, which then they followed through, to introduce their mutual friend Bob Jaffe, a rising young executive and Stanley's son, to a call girl in London. They plot to find the girl, they discuss paying her and arranging to have Jaffe meet her. As it turns out, their plan was a great success. The unwitting Jaffe went to London, met the girl, spent the week with her, all without realizing the introduction had been a setup. On the tapes, according to Heidi, she and Evans discussed the possibility of using this information should Jaffe make Evans' life difficult at Paramount. I would kill Evans if that got out, says Heidi. He says being my friend has cost him dearly. So, like, she's saying, here's this horrible thing that I don't want to get out. But it to a Vanity Fair article in her house in the middle of this trial that she was basically blackmailing this guy. I don't even care about this woman. I just like when Redacted either judges or makes insightful observations. You will care about this woman. So Heidi was rushing to her lawyer's office to give an interview to Fox TV. So because all these tapes of hers are getting released, she basically is doing interview swaps in exchange for them not publishing them. So she's like, I'll go to you and I'll do an interview if you delete the fucking tape in the middle of this crazy high profile trial that she's in. But that's not all that's happening. This morning, hard copy showed up at Heidi's house with her 1992 date book. They gave it back to me, she says, gesturing towards the book in the back seat of her car. Heidi claims she gave her book to Lahua Reed, a petite blonde. When you picture California, you picture Lahua. So side note why the book is important, it literally is a list of her client names and all the notes about them. So super incriminating and embarrassing. Lahua lent Heidi $15,000 to pay Brickler when she was first arrested. Brickler's the lawyer. And then lent her the Norma Kamali wrap dress she wore for her court appearance. And now Heidi's courtroom ensembles are being provided by Dolce & Gabbana. She was a good friend, Heidi admits, so why would Lahua give Heidi's date book to hard copy? I don't know why, but I know she did it. I hope she made a lot of money off of it. She's literally so direct. She's like, yeah, my best friend definitely gave it to them. I hope she made money. I don't know why she did it. So Heidi drives into the lawyer's office. She parks the car, grabs the book, and heads to the office. In the crowded elevator, she kind of hides. No one notices her. At Brickler, she's ushered into a corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows and views of the city, and she plops down on the couch. She starts going through the date book. It remarkably looks like any busy female executive calendar. There are a list of appointments, pool guy, hairdresser, facial, lawyer, and scribbled names and phone numbers. Written on the upper right corner of nearly every page are her bets for the week. Cowboys 1,000, Raiders 1,500, and if she's won or lost. On every two-page spread, there are several girls' names, first names only, and sometimes their destinations. See, I was smart, she says, pointing to a section that's been blacked out with a pen so it's unreadable. Anything important I inked out. It feels so 80s to have a book of names sitting in the backseat next to an interviewer, just willy-nilly. No, the 80s seemed like they were so willy-nilly. When Heidi was first arrested, there was much speculation about the employees of Columbia Pictures, specifically the head of production, Michael Nathanson, and VP of production, Barry Josephson, that they were clients of Heidi's. There were rumors that company funds were used to procure girls and they were flown to movie sets on a Columbia jet, and that Heidi had a bogus development deal with the studio that paid her a regular salary. Barry and Michael were fall guys, Heidi says, big time. They were both innocent, but they were practically the only ones who were, not just at Columbia, at every studio. So I love how she says nothing and everything. Like, she will give all the lore, but somehow not name anybody, which is insane to me. I think she's incredibly smart. She's particularly angry at producer and former Sony Pictures co-CEO John Peters. He got girls for everyone, she says. He knew Alex for years. He was a huge client. He was the guy everyone went to when they wanted a girl. There were many other celebrity clients and a producer and his manager wife who would hire a girl for three-way sex, Billy Idol, who was denied paying for sex, and Charlie Sheen. Sheen often had parties at his house, usually around the playoff games or pennant races. Charlie was a gentleman, she says, pointing to his name in her book. He paid for all his friends. They wanted to be studs. They don't want to say they pay for sex. Charlie gave a party of the Cincinnati Reds at his house. They played the Dodgers the next day, and I spent $30,000 on the Dodgers because I figured the Reds had been out all night with the girls and drinking, and I still lost the money. So it seemed like she was very much friends with Charlie Sheen. Sheen's rather Rockwell-esque fantasy was cheerleaders. He'd have Brandy or Susie or another cute little blonde dress up in a cheerleader outfit and pretend she had a big game the next day. The girls often fell in love with him. Brandy would write out Brandy Sheen over and over and over again. We don't pay for sex. Our bestie paid for us. No, literally. I have really mixed feelings about Charlie, Heidi says. His secretary called when everything happened, and I thought, why didn't his secretary call when he wanted girls at weird hours or if he wanted drugs at weird hours? She may have her revenge. Heidi has a copy of a Charlie Sheen sex video. He's sitting there high, and two of the girls start kissing him. You can imagine the rest. Heidi claims she had other Hollywood clients. Shannon Doherty called up once to ask for two girls for her fiance's bachelor party, Heidi recalls, citing one example. She said, I want them to be pretty, but not too pretty. She was giving me all these orders, and then she said, I only want to pay $200 a piece. And I said, why don't you do it yourself? And I hung up on her. Shannon calls this account distorted, but she admits to hiring girls. But most of Heidi's high-end business came from the Middle East and politics. A man called me once and said, a king is coming over and it's not a Saudi king. I said, the Saudi, who was having dinner the same night, is paying $2,500 a piece. How much are you paying? He said, "It's not a paying kind of thing. He's the king." I said, "No, thank you. Even kings should have manners." Some of this is boasting, but Heidi will allow that she applied girls to members of the Bush administration and the Clinton administration. So again, she says nothing, but says everything. Typically, someone would call and ask for 5 girls to attend a fundraiser or a party. Heidi rarely knew who ended up with whom. I'd say to Susie, "Who did I send you to in Washington? Which senator was it?" And she would say, "I don't know. He had gray hair. I can't remember. I guess I should have asked the girls more questions," she says, rather disgenuinely. Like, this kills me. And again, this is in the middle of her trial. One perplexing element of the Heidi Chronicles is that for so many successful, attractive men, many of whom were single, would feel a compulsion to pay women for sex, except in unusual cases, like the client in England who paid girls to beat each other into a pulp while he masturbated. Sex with Heidi's girls was pretty standard, straight up stuff. And while it's true that the girls were often beautiful, it's also true that in Hollywood there are many beautiful girls who will sleep with the movie producer or star for free. The appeal of getting a prostitute is control, explains Ivan Nash. The men can tell these girls what to do, and they do it, and then they leave. The man is in control. Many of the girls feel that they were in control. After all, they were being paid a tremendous amount of money for their time. When I got busted, all of the men celebrated because instead of paying $3,000 a night, they were now paying $300 a night. I always took advantage of them, Heidi says. But those days are over. Name someone, she says provocatively. I know all of the sleaze. If he's a high roller or a creep or sleazy, I know I've heard of him. She searched the book. I hope some of these guys get it. I can't take the fall for everyone. She knew she was caught, may as well spill the tea. A few moments later, Anthony Brooklier appears. He's a tall man in his late 40s with a faint resemblance to his hero, Elvis Presley. Heidi adores Brooklier. If all lawyers were like Tony, there wouldn't be any lawyer jokes. And jumps up from the couch, diary in hand. Here it is, she says, flirting. Heidi, Brooklier says, they're coming to do an interview in half an hour. We have a lot of work to do. Brooklier is pursuing a particular line of defense, that the DA was engaging in selective prosecution, not prostitution, prosecution, meaning that Heidi's guilty men who paid her are guilty as well. LAPD Vice has repeatedly stated that there are major names listed in Heidi's book, but they have no intention of investigating these men. In the sealed grand jury testimony, names given under oath by the other girls who were busted, the LAPD has names, says Brooklier. They have reassured me that these men, that they'll do nothing with them, and we want to challenge that. So her lawyer's defense is basically, you're only prosecuting her. You're not prosecuting anybody else involved in this, even though you have information on them. Brooklier has a colorful past. The son of Dominic Brooklier, a one-time kingpin of the LA Mafia, he has defended such cases as Michael Rizzatello, reported to be one of the most powerful organized crime figures in Southern California, who was convicted of attempted murder, and he has represented Madam Alex, for whom he got probation on the pandering charges. Alex introduced Heidi to Brooklier, and it was a perfect match. Brooklier thrives on media attention surrounding Heidi, and she has turned him into her white knight. Come on, Heidi, Brooklier begins. We have to rehearse. Okay, she says. Ask me. Miss Fleiss, why are the men not being prosecuted? She stammers. Brooklyn prompts her. Say, if they're guilty, they're guilty. Heidi says, if I'm guilty, then the men are guilty. And that's it. Heidi's lawyer has a colorful past? No way. They go round and round. He talks, she repeats. Heidi looks happy. She loves a father figure. I'm a 27-year-old girl, and they're big, powerful men, she recites. She sounds odd and far away, as if she were talking about someone else. It's an actual excellent plan of attack, and one that has worked before. The strategy is to smoke out the men and pressure the authorities into dropping the charges or giving probation. We want all these guys to call their lawyers and tell them to call the DA's office. The king would have his motion filed, Heidi laughs. She loves Elvis references. So their strategy is basically, if we threaten to go after all the other people, the other more powerful men will call and this whole thing will go away. Not a bad strategy. Brooklier and Heidi do not have a usual lawyer-client relationship. It's more like they're dating. Alex told me you hit on her, Heidi chimes in. That moo-moo pig, she told me you have a crush on her. Brooklier scoffs, you know Heidi. I called Howard Wiseman's Michael Jackson lawyer and told him we'd put Michael's name in your book. He would be the only person who would benefit from that. She laughs. Isn't he funny? And then the Fox camera crew arrives. She can pretend that nothing's changed, but once they start firing questions about Ivan Nash and the IRS and 11 years in jail, she starts to get terrified. When it comes to the nitty gritty, says a private investigator that's been advising her, she's going to get the shit scared out of her. It does get rough. The more time you spend around this world, the more severe it seems. The alliances shift daily, and it's clear that everyone is out for one thing. They all want power. That is the struggle starkest between Heidi and Naj. Take, for example, the recent phone conversation Naz had with Susie trying to win her over. You're welcome to be friends with Heidi. You can be friends with Al Capone. I don't care. She panics. Am I going to get busted because I'm her friend? Birds of a feather, replies Naj. Heidi and Naj are very off again, on again, like forever. You need to distance yourself from that garbage. Distance yourself from them. Let her call Bob Evans. Maybe they can get adjoining jail cells, he pressures Susie further. You don't fuck with Mac Daddy, bitch. You fuck with Mac Daddy and it's adios, motherfucker, just like that. You saw what happened to fucking Alex. She used to have that big house on a hill, and now she's got a shot out of the water like a fucking buffalo. You know, she fought with Mac Daddy, so just be straight, be cool, and don't run no games. Later, Nash claims he was hitting on Susie during this conversation. It was a hard hit. Najee is sitting in the living room of his condo near Century City. A short, stocky 55-year-old dressed in baggy jeans and a sweatshirt. Again, this is Ivan Nash, the person that sold Heidi to Madam Alex. Where was I? He's proud of his apartment, especially his art collection. He seems to think that the apartment, which is full of antiques, proves that he is not a pimp and the lowlife that he's been labeled in the press. If I lived in a crash pad in West Hollywood, it would be understandable. But living here like this, it's ridiculous. How the fuck does you having a nice apartment make you not a pimp? Like, how is it like, oh, his apartment's so nice. He surely could not be a pimp with such a nice apartment and art collection. Like, how is that your defense? On the other hand, there's a gallery of girls. On the mantle and bookcases, there's at least a dozen framed photos of barely clad women. When he's asked the obvious question, how'd you meet all these babes? He replies, the question should be, how did they meet me? Nash fancies himself a magnet for women, but despite all his conquest, he remains obsessed with Heidi. It's terrible for me to say this at this point, but I can be looped into this whole group, but Heidi really has an affinity for really slime balls. Since Heidi's arrest, Nash has become a celebrity. It is rumored that he, along with alleged partner Julie Canaster, has taken over Heidi's business. In early August, the duo were arrested for pandering, but no charges were filed. We will get into that more later. I think he was an informant for the FBI, personally. Nash maintains that he is not in the prostitution business, despite the fact that known hookers spend time at his house. The girls come over here from time to time. They call me and say, do you want to go to a movie? I'll go to a movie with them. When Heidi pitches them out, they come hang around here. Girls can be an occupational hazard. He says, oh God, they can mess up your life. Nash has sold his story for $100,000. Heidi so far has refused all offers. He planned to direct it for television and would like Armand Asante to play him. The networks didn't really like it, he admits. He'd rather talk about Heidi. They last saw each other on Memorial Day. We spent the night together at the Marriott, he recalls. She was really emotional. She knows I'm the most decent thing that's happened to her. Again, this is the man that sold her to a madam. Heidi doesn't deny this encounter. I thought, I'll sleep with him and I'll be free for 6 months, she says. But I started hitting him in the middle of the night. I said, you're a freak, leave me alone, and I ran out. Nash shakes his head. I wanted to marry her, but I can't be married to a drug addict. Heidi has a problem dealing with reality, so she has to be anesthetized. For a moment, he sounds almost sad, but quickly his mood changes. I'm riding the wave. I don't really think I have a purpose. Finally, he's fucking right about something, Jesus. Oh, y'all are like having a convo in the chat. I can't get into that right now. We have too much to do and it's already been over an hour. Heidi is sitting on the floor of her bedroom going through a trunk of clippings and mementos. The bedroom, which pretty much looks like it belongs to a 12-year-old, it's pink, white, and lacy. There's a huge white cast iron bed with polka dot coverlets, and she says, Evans gave me that. I told him I'd rather see Benjamin Franklin than go to his house for a screening, and he sent over that picture. She returns to the trunk. I'm going to skip through some of this. She seems a bit down. She did not spend Thanksgiving with her family. It's the only time of the year the entire Fleiss clan gets together, but I just couldn't. Instead, she went to dinner with a local newscaster, except Victoria showed up 2.5 hours late and seemed really strung out. There's been more than an unusual amount of girl drama around the house. Recently, her friend went on a current affair. She signed an exclusive contract with a show that extends through February while Heidi will be on trial. They've shot enough of Brandy for a mini series. I just want you to be proud of me, she said. I know Brandy's a jabberjaw, but Heidi always forgives them anyway. So although Heidi's Corvette is still impounded, Susie is prospering and she just got her married boyfriend to buy her a new Ford. I told him I couldn't drive my old car anymore, and if I couldn't drive, I couldn't see him. That's the thing that worries me now is the Mimi tapes. Mimi was a penthouse girl Heidi had an affair with a few years ago. We videotaped some pretty nasty stuff, Heidi remembers, and she left a message on my machine saying, I'm going to sell this thing. So it seems like when Heidi had this trial happen, everyone around her tried to just like exploit the situation, whether that meant exploiting her or themselves. There's nothing else left, she says, sounding genuinely deflated. With the phone taps, the videotapes, Brandy on TV, there's not one secret left. I feel like a circus event. Some people think she still hasn't stopped. They think I'm still in business, but she denies it. There's reports that she's still arranging dates, but she said whenever her phone rings now, it's usually one of her former girls calling to find out when the latest sex tape will be on TV. It's a lot. So this is the end of the Vanity Fair article. I told you that was going to be our anchor tonight and what we talked about a lot. 3 days later, Heidi abruptly kicks Victoria out of the house. She gave an interview to a London tabloid, Heidi says, sounding very upset. The interview, How I Became a Hollywood Hooker and Sold My Body for $400 a Night. This details Victoria's career working for Alex, then Heidi. She was supposed to get $100,000 for the interview, but then she never got the money. Victoria stabbed me in the back, and I told her, if you don't leave now, I think I'll kill you. So all of her friends are turning against her. This is just like, seems horrifying for everybody involved. All that seems to be left of Heidi's former life is some clippings, videotapes, and fewer friends. Tonight, things seem to be taking their toll. Claudia has gone out and Heidi is alone in the house. I never thought it would end up this way. But this Victoria thing, there's some things you don't do. You have to draw the line somewhere, she pauses. People will do anything for money. And finally, and I don't mean sex, they'll do anything. And that's what I've learned. So that Vanity Fair article is fucking crazy. That she did that whole interview and it came out during the trial and all of that. There's also, my fucking phone keeps falling. There's also this movie that I watched about her. I don't think it's 100% accurate, but it was really fucking good. I watched it on, I think it's free with Amazon Prime, but it has the actress who played Meadow in The Sopranos. Really good movie, like very old style movie. I'm not 100% sure when it came out, but this is a clip from the movie, so you can kind of like see the vibes of it. The earlier clip we saw was also from that movie.
Hello? Hey.
So like, she's shopping, she's doing cocaine, she's running girls. It seemed like it was a whirlwind of like 3 years.
Go ahead, keep it.
She's given away a ton of cocaine to people. Apparently she was super generous, just gave anything to anybody, paid for everybody all the time.
Why don't you come work for me? 65-35 split.
Are you gonna be a madam? I'm only 23 years old.
I didn't know there was like an age requirement for the gig.
He got more balls than the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I'm offering you 5 points better than Alex. I wouldn't give that to my own sister.
We have a lot of history, me and Alex. We go way back.
Months even. Do you know Alex is the snitch for the LAPD? 20 years. Some fat dork's probably got a jacket on you 6 inches thick. I think about that every time she calls you.
So this is her stealing girls from Alex. Here's another clip from the movie, just showing her partying.
Even in the fast lane, you never quite knew when you'd be pulled over. Take care of it.
LAPD, Vice. Got a second?
Didn't you talk to Yvonne?
What I hear, you're the one to talk to.
So what's up?
It's just a question I want to ask you.
A little public, isn't it? Want to see my club?
Probably scare away your customers.
This is that club she was talking about that she like owned but didn't own. She just kind of ran it.
Tommy.
My first live, welcome. This feels like the start of a Law and Order episode. It was a good movie.
My client base was stable. The girls were a bunch of ditzes. They were always disappearing, and the clients were demanding new faces. Recruiting was hard.
She was
work.
playing in their
I had to be my own
faces. She
headhunter.
was.
Here we go. 2 champagne cocktails.
We're gonna need another bottle.
2 bottles, Moet.
Mason was coming by tonight.
Great. Got anything for me, Teddy?
Down by the bar. She's been hustling guys for drinks for 3 nights straight now.
So she's recruiting new girls and paying a finder's fee, just how Ivan got a finder's fee for her to Alex. So that's what when she says she learned the business, she did.
Alrighty.
The LAPD was in on Alex. She def got too comfortable. I agree.
Hi. I'm Heidi. Hi. Want to go to a party for Billy Idol?
So that's how she recruited girls.
I found girls everywhere. Nice girls, all-American girls. Girls you could take home to mom. Looks wonderful on you. He's some kid nobody you screw him because he says he loves you, right? I guess so. All the guys I know are really cute and very successful. It's like a really neat club. I have a lot of fun.
So you get the vibes. These are some notes from the movie, but I'm going to kind of skip through this because we already kind of talked about this. She dropped out of college. She got her real estate license in the 1980s. Lots of siblings. Her boyfriend was much older, sold her to Alex. She became super rich, traveled a ton. Apparently she, in this movie, I don't know if this is accurate, they were like, met the first lady, Princess Diana, like running in all of these circles. We also have to remember the biggest crime in America is insulting the police. Alex was arrested and her shit was shut down. The house was sold and that helped Heidi take over the business. Heidi and Ivy basically stole the business, and then when Alex got out of her very brief stint in jail that ended with just probation, they really iced her out. Heidi's dad helped her launder the money, so that's why the car and the house was in his name. She stopped hooking once she started managing. That's the way that she said it in the movie. She ran her house, was very well organized, very well connected, like was notorious for being on time. The girls would be on time, like super professional. She became super famous locally. The press wanted to talk to her. She refused to give out client info. Apparently, the reason Alex never got in legal trouble is because she was informing the LAPD, like that Vanity Fair article confirmed. Heidi wasn't willing to do that. Like, we saw that LAPD guy, like, come talk to her, and she just gave him the business card and left and, like, hit on him, basically. Heidi was not willing to sell out the client info and was not willing to work directly with the police. That is why I ultimately think she got in trouble, because she was not willing to work with the police. She got arrested, was offered a 7-figure book deal in order to name names, and she was going to take it, but then she didn't and had a friend burn the book. I don't know if that's true, but it's what was in the movie. This is true. Alex died during the trial, like randomly of a heart attack. And she said that no one was supporting her in court and she was super, super, super alone. This is a Washington Post article, also from 1994. Heidi Fleiss guilty of pandering. Hollywood madam faces up to 9 years in prison, more than 30 years ago. I wonder if she's in the movie credits. Like, did she play a part in the creation of this movie? Not 100% sure. That's a good question. Heidi Fleiss, who ran a notorious ring, blah, 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 blah. The jury conflicted Fleiss, 28, the daughter of a prominent pediatrician, on 3 counts of pandering. It deadlocked on the other 2 counts and found her innocent of 1 count of supplying cocaine to an undercover police officer. They set a preliminary hearing for sentencing, and the prosecutor says, "This demonstrates how wrong people have been about juries. There's been a lot of jury bashing." Really weird thing to fixate on. However, the 4-woman indicated that there was a struggle over the verdict. She says that they were split evenly, and that she, along with 3 other women and 2 men, believed that Heidi should be acquitted, and eventually the jurors decided that they could not entirely accept the reasoning that Fleiss's attorney, Brooklier, who contended that she had been entrapped by the police. In the courtroom, Fleiss dropped her head to the table when the second guilty verdict ran through the courtroom, and she sat slumped. And then when the third guilty was announced, she raised her head and slammed her hand on the table. She sat grim-faced through the rest of the court proceedings, sighing at one point, throwing her head back at another. Her father, whom she faces a federal court trial for money laundering and tax evasion with, hung his head. The possibility that Fleiss's clients might be unveiled in her trial thrust the high school dropout into the national spotlight, virtually overnight turning her into a celebrity. Fleiss maintained that her business for 2 years before running afoul to the police. According to surveillance tapes on her phone, it ended abruptly with the undercover sting operation, like we talked about. They set the bail. She posted the bail. She was arrested in September after drug test. There's a fly in here. A term of her probation indicated that she had been using stimulants and depressants, and as a result of those tests, she was assigned to a drug rehab program. So not only is she going through the trial, she also has to go through drug rehab. In federal court, she and her father were charged with money laundering, bank fraud, and alleged conspiracy to hide the young woman's income. The father and daughter have pleaded not guilty, and that trial may also unveil the names. So yeah, things are not good for Heidi at this moment in time. Sexism totally played a role, plus her admitting all that stuff to the cops. Yeah, I think there's like a lot at hand here. This is May 1996. Her state conviction was overturned and they had to like retry her because the jury was up to fuck shit. So just how earlier the 4-woman said, "Oh, we had some disagreement," apparently it was handled really illegally. The District Court of Appeal ordered that a new trial be held, and that's because they said several jurors said that they swapped guilty verdicts on the pandering charges for not guilty on the drug charges. So the way a jury works is they're all supposed to agree. They all have to come to an agreement, guilty or not guilty. And because they had multiple charges, I guess the jury was like, they couldn't come to an agreement, like that lady said, and they said, okay, we will vote guilty on this if you vote not guilty on that. Like the people who wanted not guilty, they basically compromised and gave her some guilty and not others, and that's not how a jury's supposed to go. They're supposed to handle each charge separately. Like they're not, in terms of like ethics, like they're not supposed to be like trading like that. I want to know Heidi's take on the Ashley Madison leak. Oh my God. They had mistakenly thought that Miss Fleiss would not have to serve time in prison for pandering. So they did that because they didn't want her to go to prison, basically. But she was ultimately convicted of federal charges for tax evasion, and she was sentenced to 37 months in prison. So I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to go through every little individual charge and what happened with the jury. We'll stop it with, they got her for some stuff, they didn't get her for everything, and she was given a 37-month sentence, which is tough. But the court proceedings took years. You can see this is by 1997. Her lawyers asked that she be given a 2.5-year sentence at a boot camp style facility. The judge also ordered that she pay an undisclosed amount in taxes, a $400 fine, and forfeit $550,000 from the sale of her home, serve 3 years of probation, 300 hours of community service, and go to substance abuse. Earlier, Fleiss choked back tears and told the judge, "I'm a different person now." Prosecutors said that she had laundered at least $300,000 through her family's bank accounts and through her estate. Models turned prostitutes had recounted being sent around the globe as her client, sometimes earning $10,000 for a single assignment. She served 20 months in the Federal Correctional Institute in Dublin, California. Then she was released to a halfway house on November 19th, 1998. She spent 20 months in prison. As a part of the plea bargain, she will also be serving the state charges of pandering in congruency. That means you serve both of them at the same time. You don't have to like double dip, basically, which is good, I guess, because some people, they don't let do that. Some people, you go to federal prison and then you get out and go to state prison, which I think would fucking suck. At her sentencing, she apologized for running a business she blamed on her youth and bad choices. She told the television table program American Justice that serving as a madam was hard work. She also complained about a life behind bars, calling it horrible, and called for equal punishment for the men who used her services, including actor Charlie Sheen, who had spent $53,000 on Fleiss's call girls in 1992. So I think it's total fucking bullshit that none of the men involved got in trouble. Like, at all. None of the men involved. So there was this other BBC documentary about her. If you are going to watch any piece of media other than my stream about her, I recommend it be this one. It is fucking crazy. Very similarly to the Vanity Fair article, like, while it's happening, they are up in it. Like, they're in LA interviewing random prostitutes. It is so high quality in research, low quality in camera equipment. Like, it's literally grainy footage in a motel room of like a prostitute with her top off being like, look at this porn ad. This girl worked for Heidi. Like, they are in it interviewing. They interview Heidi, they interview Ivan, they interview Alex, they interview like fucking everyone. And it is crazy what they are able to get in this. It's so fucking insane. So my notes from this movie, they filmed it during the trial. Lots of people agreed. There's also tons of home movies. There were home movies of Heidi as a child, like her mom giving birth at home. Like, how the fuck did they get that tape? There were home movies from Heidi partying, like very intimate movies of Heidi with Ivan, not sex tapes, but like, I think that's where it was going. But none of the clients were even questioned by the LAPD. No, exactly. This documentary, I paid $1 for it to rent it on Amazon. I don't know where else it is. It might be other places. So apparently, this is what my notes are from the movie. Apparently, Ivan beats women. Multiple people said he's the reason Heidi went down with the law, that Ivan is the one that reported Heidi. That Ivan very much reported her. That Alex was an informant for the LAPD. And the reason that Heidi is the only madam they went after, because in the documentary, they showed how California had not gone after anybody for pandering, like, ever. Like, even though it was technically illegal, there were, like, no cases about it. And apparently the LAPD would trade sex for info. So the LAPD would get free access to sex workers, and then the madams would tell the LAPD info, and then the LAPD like would ignore everything that was going on. But because Heidi refused to give girls for free or give any information, that is why the LAPD like did that sting operation on her. Alex says that Ivan Naj is an FBI informant, which is why his charges never stick, which makes sense because he was charged for pandering and the charges were dropped. So apparently what Alex says is that every time Ivan gets in trouble locally, the federal government is like, no, he's a part of an ongoing investigation, drop the charges, we're going to handle it. Heidi's mom was in the press a ton during the trial, like talking about her on the news. Not badly though. That's what I found odd, is her mom was like, this is so sad, I can't believe this has happened. It was very weird. You should honestly watch it. It's insane. Basically, the guy just goes around LA for months and interviews everyone. Lahua, the girl that sold the book, she's in the documentary as well. She lives in Fort Lauderdale now, or in the 90s when this was produced. It's not really an easy to follow documentary. Like, it's not like a story. It's more just like a smattering of everyone involved and what their side of the story is and their perspective. They even interviewed the LAPD chief, Daryl Gates, and asked why they didn't arrest the men, and even said, well, what about your brother? Because your brother was known to be involved in this when he was a police officer. Like, I don't know how the fuck the BBC does this. So this is an article about the documentary. Dogged British documentarian Nick Broomfield nearly accomplishes the impossible with his film Heidi Fleiss, The Hollywood Madam, by convincingly portraying his infamous subject as a victim. Of those procurers, 60-something convicted bookmaker, erst movie director, alleged sadist, blackmailer, FBI informant, and consummate shady character Ivan Naj may have turned Fleiss into strike back for her terminating their bizarre and abusive love-hate relationship. Fleiss, who by her own admission has a fetish for much older men, left Bernie Cornfield for Naj because the former refused to be loyal to her, like we know. And then Naj introduced Fleiss to prostitution through Madame Alex. Until her death from heart failure in 1995, Madame Alex ran her escort service from her bed. And they literally, on camera, have Madame Alex on the phone counting money, like running an escort service in this documentary. She was paid $2,500 in cash by the filmmaker on camera. He's like, here's money, will you talk to me? To comment on her professional relationship with Fleiss and Naj. She accuses Fleiss of conspiring with Naj to steal clients while Heidi is still turning tricks in Madame Alex's employ. Watching two panderers such as Naj and Madame Alex slander each other is decadently and disgustingly deliciously slimy treat. Madame Alex accuses Naj of coercion, white slavery, murder, sexual deviance, and shudder impotence. He calls her a drug addict, a bitter, vindictive, manipulative old bag. If there's such a thing as pure evil, Naj declares, it's Madame Alex. You get the feeling they're both right. Like, it's literally just them saying horrible things at each other, and Heidi's kind of caught in the middle. Of course, Broomfield is no stranger to manipulation, right down to the former LAPD chief, Daryl Gates. Looking for all the world like such a lowlife snitch while meeting Broomfield in a nondescript hotel room and accepting a $1,500 payoff to go on the record regarding his department's bust of Fleiss, Broomfield doesn't miss any opportunity to put his subjects on the spot. But after ambushing LA's one-time top cop with information that Gates' own brother, Steve, a former LAPD captain, was a Fleiss frequent flyer, the guy just kind of like panics. Like, it's crazy that he's able to do this. And then also on screen is several of Heidi's girls, and we hear but never see someone who's known as Cookie, who's apparently Ivan Naj's enforcer, who just like beats the shit out of people, who's a mysterious retired Israeli Secret Service agent who they also think was tapping the phones. Like, the whole thing is fucking crazy. The lowlights are just too plentiful to list here. Broomfield's camera records every vulgar detail in explicit graphic glory. From the seller's description to a sick trick to Naj's naughty home movies, Naj describes one video's content as innocent fun and games. The video gives you a sense of nice emotional interaction between two people. If that's the case, then Fleiss has an odd way of bestowing affection. The tape depicts a nude Heidi commanding Naj to turn off the camera. When he doesn't comply, she starts basically talking about his dick. I don't even want to get into it. But it's like Heidi naked. She covers herself up with a blanket. Like, I've fully seen her naked. Like, this BBC documentary just has her naked in it. I don't know how that's legal. But like, Ivan's videoing her. He's like, dance for me, Heidi, dance for me. And she's like, get the fuck away from me. And then she starts making fun of his dick. Like, I should not have been there. Like, when I was watching that video, I was like, this is private. Like, I don't think I want to be a part of this. It's just a lot. Broomfield's scathing documentary exposes a nest of vipers whose greed and venom knows no limits. When near the end of the film, Fleiss finally sits down to tell her side of the story. For the first hour of the movie, she's like avoiding him. She says she'll talk to him, and then she keeps ditching him. And then she's wearing the Heidi clothing line that we saw a picture of her in earlier. This doc has everything. He really went through it for us. Like, you guys actually should watch it. It's actually insane. It becomes difficult to reconcile this shy, likable woman with the initial press portraits of Fleiss as a jaded, coke-sniffing Hollywood madam, smirking defiantly and flipping the bird at newsmen. You find yourself coming around to Broomfield's view of Heidi as Fall Girl, an easy target in a high-stakes game of horror wars. Could this candid, toothsome sweetheart possibly be the Wicked Witch of Westwood who threatened to go public with her not-so-little black book? The prospect of which struck terror into the hearts of untold numbers of studio executives and movie stars? No way, you think, but the interview digs one layer too deeply, and Fleiss's sunny mood abruptly clouds cover. She curtly cuts off the interview. You start to wonder if she's playing the filmmaker like a John, telling him what he wants to hear, selling fantasy Heidi. You remember Naj warning Broomfield. You believe her. You think she likes you. You think you're hot shit. You're a rube. She thinks you're a fucking idiot. You're not in the club. So the documentary is fucking crazy. I tried to find like clips of it. Couldn't really. It's like very deep underground, but 10 out of 10. Actually 0 out of 10. It like was traumatizing to me. But in that documentary, they show her as very shy. Like, she's like, oh, I don't know. And then in the home movies, she's also very shy. Also around this time, this is 1994, Ivan sold nude photographs of Heidi to Penthouse. So not only has he like kind of turned the police against her, he also is selling her nude photographs and gave all these home videos to this filmmaker where she's literally naked in them, which is fucking crazy. This is not her on the cover, but the cover says The Nudes of Heidi Fleiss, a lover's intimate portrait. So we will skim the Penthouse article. We're not going to read the whole thing because a lot of it's redundant. Because of course he did. Of course he did. Although no charges were ever brought against Naj, he is inextricably linked with what emerged as the underside of Tinseltown and what the Fleiss scandal revealed about the way the rich and the famous live. During the approximate 3.5 years that Fleiss and Naj were together, from 1988 to 1992, he has what they describe as an intense sexual relationship and often tempestuous affair. But he adds, so much has been written by him and his role in Fleiss's life and her current problems, he finds it necessary to tell his version of the story. He recalls the good times they had fooling around when many of these photographs were taken. I couldn't find the photographs, but I didn't work that hard and I felt like it didn't matter. Like, they were her nudes that were released non-consensually, so I didn't really feel the need to include that. Like, you saw the cover, you get it. Since Naj is an expert photographer, the camera was adjunct to their pleasure, and he often took candid snaps and made videotapes of their amorous adventures. We did that throughout our relationship. I would shoot pictures, and we would always have 2 copies made of them because Heidi wanted a set of her own. I took ones of Heidi in the bath one day, probably in 1991, when she was soaking, and she looked so pretty. I wanted to have a lasting image. She didn't object because she wanted to preserve the moments that she sometimes said were the happiest time she had spent in her life. So he's literally obsessed with her. So he said that they met when she was 23. She said they met when she was 19. So that's not adding up. He said she's mature for her age. She was living at her father's beach house in Santa Monica, going to real estate school, and at that point breaking up with Bernie Cornfield. Even Naj himself said Fleiss seemed to have a strong need to please her father, a well-known LA pediatrician, and with older men like himself, she seemed to find some kind of anchor and grounding with an established person, established in terms of age and money. I think she's probably super traumatized for something. I don't know what that is. He says when he was 18, he joined the Hungarian uprising. This is from his perspective, by the way, if you didn't gather that. So like the first article we read was her perspective. This is his perspective. He joined the Hungarian uprising, and he was among those who stormed the radio station and held it until the Soviets crushed the revolutionary movement. To escape the communist regime, he fled with other refugees across the border, and then he came to the United States. He said he learned to speak English, drove to LA in June of 1957, and enrolled in UCLA, where he studied photography. He was 50 and divorced when he met Heidi. He found that there was a very quick bonding between them. And they made a wager over like a sport thing on a football game, and then her team won, so he called her and said, you got to meet me because I owe you money, because she had asked him like, hey, where can I make bets? And he made a bet with her. So that's how they met. She resumed studying for her real estate license. She also cared for her sister, who had had a lot of operations because Heidi was driving a Jeep and her sister got very severely injured. So Heidi was like caring for her. And then December 1988 is when they began to have an affair. So what Heidi says and other people say is that he sold her to Madame Alex, and he disputes that allegation. He had met Alex 2 years before, he explains, when he had confronted a previous girlfriend about her strange hours and learned that she was a call girl working for this major Hollywood madam. I was fascinated by the story and arranged to meet her. I suppose you could say I became a confidant, and meanwhile I was getting to know all these girls, and she was encouraging them to hang out with me. Another thing that Heidi says is that Madame Alex didn't have a bank account, didn't use credit cards, didn't do anything like that. So Ivan would do that stuff for her. Like, they kind of had a business relationship, but they also kind of hated each other. Around Christmas 1988, I visited Alex, Naj continues. I told her I'd met this girl, we were getting along great, and that I was in love. Alex got me to tell her Heidi's name, and then she started to cackle. Ha ha ha, she works for me. So Ivan says that Heidi worked for her before. I don't fucking believe it. I think he sold her. That's what everyone else says. He's the only person that says this. Naj was surprised, although in retrospect, she said she was out of town with Bernie. Working for Alex wasn't a daily job, says Naj. I knew that girls would call her up when they needed money, or Alex would call them when she wanted somebody for a particular job. So my guess is that Heidi had probably drifted in and out with Alex. Heidi was doing drugs, although she was functional. As he had gotten to know her, Naj realized that Heidi was always insecure about her looks. She always seemed to attach herself to girls who were much prettier. Then she would go out with them to draw attention to herself, but they were never her intellectual equal. They were people that she could control. In retrospect, as he recalls the insecurity of Heidi, that innuendos something went wrong in her life around age 13, but she never spoke about it. I saw that there was a huge wound there and that she was a very damaged girl. She has the classic symptoms of an abused girl, the insecurity, the combined love and anger towards men. I do believe that. But he still persisted. I wanted us to live together, but she kept refusing. I was aware that hundreds of people were coming to her home each day. She was drifting in and out with Alex. Like, it seemed like their relationship was like super, super toxic. He insists that her work as a prostitute was separate for him. And then he started noticing a lot more drugs in her apartment, always a plate of Coke on the coffee table. By this point, Naj felt he understood her psychology. Her ambition was to get to Beverly Hills, blah, 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 blah. During this time, Fleiss had gone into business herself. Like we said, she was netting $70,000 a month. She bought that big ass house. And then in 1993, her animosity toward Naj had increased with her new sense of power and also perhaps the relationship becoming more dysfunctional from drug abuse. Naj says that Fleiss set out to get her revenge, whether her attacks on him grew out of her suspicion that he had somehow been responsible for her bust, or if it was because she was still furious with him for breaking up with her. But she says she broke up with him because he reported her to the police. Then Fleiss went to the police and filed a complaint against Naj for harassment. Fleiss herself, he said, had made endless threats in the middle of the night phone calls, which she raged, "You motherfucking scum, I'm going to get you." She attempted random acts of revenge, which Naj calls a baby vendetta, like trying to get him banned from restaurants. More serious, Naj claims a development project he had in the works. In the BBC documentary, it's interesting because that guy is interviewing Heidi and Naj around the same time, or Heidi and Ivan around the same time. And Heidi is like, "I hate him, he sucks." And Ivan is like, "She still comes here at night sometimes." And he had fucking receipts. He had like the entry log from the security on his building with her plate number that the journalist went into her house and was like, "Yeah, that is your plate number." And then she was like, "No, it's not." And then Ivan gave the journalist phone calls, like literally on camera. He's like, "I'll call her right now and tell her you're not here." And he's like, "Hey, baby." And she like doesn't hang up. Like, it seems like very much they had an abusive, toxic relationship that she was like always in and out of. Like, I hate him, I love him, I hate him, I love him, I hate him, I love him. So to me, that's like a very, very classic symptom of abuse. Absolutely. This is the end of this Penthouse article. During their discord over the past 2 years, Naj claims to be worried about Heidi and her welfare. She has sold her house. She even called me to ask if I would visit her in jail, so she's in a depressed state. When I ran into her recently, she looked terrible. Yet I know she has a dual personality and still has all this anger at me for jilting her, since she doesn't recognize that her habits caused the breakup. Looking back, he says he feels frustration, sadness, and a lot of anger. He realizes now that if one is not a drug user, dating someone who is becomes a no-win situation. And he basically just blames all of this on her using drugs. For a while, I kept allowing her to come back to me over those months because I thought if I could convince her to stay with me and rely on my strength, she might be able to straighten herself out. But I now understand that because she was denying that there was a problem, there was no hope for us, no hope for a future. All that he has left now are photographs that remind him of happier moments they had together before all hell broke loose. Which, like, is so fucking weird to me. I think he's just a weird loser and is a predator. So let's talk about Charlie Sheen. Speaking of, also, if you didn't watch the Charlie Sheen documentary, it's really good. So, actor says he got call girls from Fleiss on at least 27 occasions. The jury views a videotape of testimony by a fidgeting Charlie Sheen. Checks totaled more than $50,000. The identity of yet another Heidi Fleiss John was put to rest Thursday as federal court jurors were shown the tapes of sweating, I already kind of read that, pausing repeatedly to mop his brow and sip ice water, They identified 7 checks he had given to prostitutes between December 1991 and February 1993, including one for a woman he had hired on Christmas Day. Sheen added that he had solicited so-called Heidi's girls at least 20 other times paying cash, and that he had bypassed the madam at least 10 more times and called the girls himself. The checks ranged from $1,500 to $3,000. Most were made out to cash, although one was made out to Fleiss herself. One had been left blank and later filled in with the name of Fleiss's sister, Shayna. The money totaling more than $50,000 was for sexual services, heterosexual services. So apparently the only reason he as a celebrity got in trouble, or not even in trouble because they didn't press charges, but the only reason he got outed for this is because he had paid with checks. Other people had paid cash, so they weren't a part of the trial. But the reason he was part of the trial is because he paid with checks. This is what Charlie said in the documentary. He never felt dastardly or corrupt buying sex. He considered the payment a convenient tax for a guaranteed outcome that the other dating scenarios couldn't offer. There's a joke that I think he made that I've heard before that I love, that you're not paying for the sex, you're paying for them to leave, which I think is like a really good way to explain it. Like, it's not just the paying for sex in the moment, because a lot of people ask, like, these actors could get anyone to sleep with them. They want it to be transactional, and like they want like the person to just leave and not talk about it. Like, they see them as an object, and that's what they want. And like, I get it, I guess. He writes, the women were never misdescribed or falsely represented with their age or personality. Heidi knew the value of customer trust, and she built on that with her consistency. What most people don't understand is if you took the financial component out of the equation, the women were just as classy as the terrific gals I'd meet at clubs, bars, and parties. Then one day, Sheen paid Fleiss using traveler's checks. I was fresh out of cash and thought it was coke-wise to use my checking account to settle my tab with Heidi. When Fleiss was arrested, he realized his checks were his only link to her, and he would ultimately admit to giving her over $53,000. When the feds spoke to Sheen, they told him he could face 5 years in jail for pandering because he bought sexual services for his friends. He claimed in his documentary that he would have taken the misdemeanor, but not the pandering charge, which is why he agreed to testify in exchange for immunity. He taped his testimony with Fleiss in the room, and he said he could see her feelings of betrayal and sadness. So basically, like, he got up on the stand and she was sitting there and she just looked super pissed. Sheen said in the documentary that he regrets it, noting, "Snitch is not a color I wear well," and he and Heidi have not spoken since. In the documentary, Heidi made it clear she does not forgive him. I wouldn't have said anything. I never said anything about anyone. He's a crybaby rich boy. He's a crybaby rich boy. He's a rich kid from Malibu. They're not going to do shit to him. He's Charlie Sheen. He was at his peak then. They're not going to do anything to him. Are you kidding me? I love how direct she is. Like, it's so to the point. So, why did none of the men get in trouble? The testimony given under the grant of immunity and videotaped in advance so it would not disrupt his latest film drew laughs and giggles from the standing room only courtroom audience. However, it was only one of several dramatic developments the day that were capped by a shouting match between prosecutors and defense lawyers and a court order placing Fleiss's sister under house arrest. In his taped testimony, Sheen said that he engaged a statement that drew smile from a convicted Madam Fleiss. In interviews, Fleiss's former call girls have said that Sheen routinely asked them to marry him, but under oath, he said he could not remember any of the names of the prostitutes whom he had sex with. He said he typically paid $2,000 to $3,000 a night and was uncomfortable when he was shown the canceled checks. Sheesh, it's starting to add up. Sheen said he never paid Heidi directly, but had ordered the prostitutes to his Agora Hill home by phone, discussing time, place, type, age, and finances. He did not know whether Heidi ever got a cut of the money. Outside court, his spokesman, Jeff Ballard, read a statement on behalf of the actor. I apologize to my family, my future wife, my close friends for any embarrassment these incidents may have caused. I offer no explanation for my actions, only the truth, which is contained in the detail within my testimony. They wouldn't call it the past if it wasn't. So this is a little more on how the trial affected her family, and we are nearing the end here. The government says that the 29-year-old daughter, blah, blah, blah. Basically, they put the checks from her business into a savings account that was held by her father and her sister, forging their endorsements, or they would make the deposits on her behalf. Her dad pleaded guilty to 3 felony counts of tax evasion, admitting that he conspired with Heidi to conceal her incomes, and he had made false statements to banks that held the mortgage to the house. He was likely to receive a sentence of 4 to 10 months and a fine of $50,000. He ended up just getting probation and community service. And the sister, Shayna Fleiss, admitted involvement as well, but they declined to prosecute her, and she agreed to testify against her sister, which fucking sucks. Not like she sucks, but the whole situation just sucks. Close to Heidi in both ages and looks, Shayna said that the relationship with her famous sister has been a complicated one, involving both heroship by a shy kid sister and resentment of a middle child who believed her mother loved Heidi the best. As a teenager, she was crippled in a Jeep accident where Heidi was at the wheel, but when Heidi was arrested and later mobbed by press, Shayna is one of the only people that refused to leave her side. Within months, Heidi ended up getting addicted to heroin after her arrest because she already had a drug problem. She's also having financial problems, not shocking at all. In December, 3 days after Shayna was granted immunity, she signed a 7-page sworn statement for the government. Prosecutors say it details the knowledge of her sister's prostitution ring and how they hid the money, basically. Shayna, now nervous, gaunt, enrolled in a methamphetamine program, was a key witness for the prosecution. But earlier this week, when she was called to the stand, Shayna crumbled before the jury, weeping and mumbling incoherently as she sought to make eye contact with her big sister, who was somberly looking at her hands. Their mother walked into the courtroom. Shayna began to sob. The mother was ushered out as a potential defense witness. She was not supposed to be in court anyway. So, pretty much her whole family is involved, which is really, really incredibly sad. This doesn't make sense to me. Heidi opened the store in the middle of the trial. She opened Heidi Wear. So we already knew about the clothing or the loungewear, sleepwear line and stuff. She also has this store in Pasadena, and then she moved the store to Santa Monica in 1995. She wasn't sentenced until 1997, remember, because there was the issues and it got thrown out and they had to retry it and all that stuff. And then in 2003, she opened another small boutique. I couldn't find out what happened to these stores, but that just felt so random to me. What are the stores? So let's get into her post-scandal life. This is very sad. I didn't really want to get into the details of it, but she was in a relationship with actor Tom Sizemore in 2003, and then he was convicted of domestic violence against her. What she said in that first clip that we saw is that they had a good relationship, but drugs really affected it. So I couldn't find a ton of detail on it, but he was convicted of domestic violence, and that tells you a lot because nobody gets convicted of domestic violence, even though it's so common. One thing about Heidi is she's going to stay employed. She moved to Pahrump, Nevada, which is a small town near Death Valley, and she cares for a lot of birds. Dr. Drew treated her for substance abuse, showed brain scans that show significant frontal lobe dysfunction, which means that apparently she has an inability to empathize with people, but she really empathizes with birds, which I find interesting. In 2009, she was treated for the substance abuse, and this was filmed for Celebrity Rehab with Dr. Drew. One of her fellow patients was Sizemore, who the restraining order had lapsed, which is fucking crazy. They both consented to appear together on the show, and their reunion was amicable, but she expressed mixed feelings about his presence. During the filming of the program, she left the center and was involved in an accident with her SUV near her home in Nevada, and then she went back to rehab. It seems like drugs are something she's really struggled with throughout her life. After completing treatment for substance abuse, she briefly became engaged to Dennis Hoff, the owner of one of the legal prostitution brothels in Nevada. And in August 2013, Nevada police found 400 marijuana plants growing in her home in Nevada, but they did not arrest Heidi, but they did submit their report to the district attorney's office. This is a celebrity weed website. Medical marijuana is legal there. And then at this point, it was starting to be open to dispensaries. She was hit with 2 counts, but they ended up not prosecuting her for this, and they just sent it to the local. So this is the last article we'll read. It's a lot shorter, and then we'll get into like the 2025 current updates. This is the Hollywood Reporter. Heidi Fleiss is finally ready to rat out a client, but why? On the 20th anniversary of her release from custody, Hollywood's famous madam, Heidi Fleiss, speaks out about being a parrot rescuer and having zero interest in a post-Me Too image rehab. So I left out a fair amount of the intro because we already talked about it. The once powerful Hollywood madam, whose high-profile clients included stars and executives, was arrested in 1993 and was freed 20 years ago. She has now summoned the Hollywood Reporter to the remote bird sanctuary where she lives with dozens of rescued parrots. Look for the structure that recalls Robinson Crusoe in a haunted house, she had texted. It says, "Do not enter. Turn there." Inside, the birds squawked as the non-squatters they'd learned from abusive previous owners. Oh, the birds curse because they were abused by previous owners. One constantly shrieked, "fuck," and another, in a matter of circumstances, repeated, "I love you." Their nanny, as Fleiss refers to herself, tended to them. When the quiet sun sets, Fleiss, 53, sleeps beneath them. Lately, though, she has not been sleeping easy. She had been wronged, she claimed, and she wanted revenge. When Radar reported that high-profile men, including Johnny Depp, George Lucas, or Robert Evans, appeared in her little black book, although without evidence that they actually used her services, she refused to engage. She didn't talk after the LAPD busted her at her Benedict Canyon compound, nor at her trial, which became a 90s media frenzy rivaled by OJ and Monica Lewinsky. I wouldn't want to be around people if I was her either. Really, they've done enough to her. Yes, she committed crimes, but it seems like everyone was kind of a fucking asshole to her as well. Then in October, Fleiss made an exception to her underworld ethics. She wanted this publication to out one of her longtime friends, a wealthy Hollywood businessman who she alleged had betrayed her. According to Fleiss, the man whom she has known since her prime made a deal with her. If she would discreetly pay off his prostitution debts using her own funds, he'd reimburse her and reportedly contribute exponentially to her bird sanctuary. Fleiss has said that she had not helped the man procure these sex workers in the first place, but was merely tasked as his cleanup woman. Now, several years had passed and the man had not made good on his promise. This offense had become Fleiss's obsession. "I feel denigrated, used, taken advantage of by a rich man. It sickens me." So what kills me is that through a trial and going to federal prison, she was like, "I'm not naming names." But when he fucked over the birds, she was like, "Oh, I'm going after you. I'm going after you." Today, it's possible to view Fleiss as a cautionary tale of industry excess and Hollywood's patriarchal tradition of using women, then discarding them when they've lost their usefulness. Recall that none of her clients were prosecuted. Despite the culture's recurrent consideration of sexual power and victimhood, Fleiss herself insisted that she wants no part of a redemption narrative. She rejects the wave of sympathetic reconsiderations that have allowed fellow 90s-era single monocured national villainesses, Monica, Lorena, Tonya, newly burnished platforms as empowered female icons. "I'm not that likable," she says flatly. "If you accept that, everything is so much easier. If you care what people think, you're their prisoner." If only the prosecutors use the birds. She draws the line at the birds. Fleiss has long struggled with substance abuse, recently favoring the combination of a snorted line of methamphetamine and paired it with Xanax. "I'm a snobby drug addict. I don't smoke it," she explained with the meth. By her account, her fragile sobriety has been further compounded by grief over the October death of her former lover and longtime friend Dennis Hoff, the Nevada brothel baron. "I keep slipping," she said, as well as her anger at her friend turned nemesis. "I've never had a problem with any client except for this one," she said. Fleiss was especially aggravated because she believed the man leveraged her virtue of secrecy against her. "He knows I haven't ratted on anyone, that I don't talk." Now she claimed she had no choice if it meant exposing herself to charges of blackmail and renewed unflattering attention. She's like, "I don't give a fuck about anything except the birds." So this is her on Dr. Drew kind of talking about this, and then we'll get back to this man she hates with the birds.
I remember the day after I was arrested, I'll never forget that day. I was sitting out by my pool looking over at Beverly Hills and the entire city, and I felt this big, and I thought, how did I, excuse my language, the best job on earth? And I don't know if drugs clouded my judgment at the time or what, but I really, really felt stupid, and I was so mad that I messed up. I was so mad at myself because I knew better. I knew better. I didn't really know that I understood that I had a drug problem until I did a Dr. Drew show called Celebrity Rehab. And at the time, when I was asked to do it, I thought, no way, who's going to get sober on TV? And then I thought, what the hell? Just who cares if I don't have a drug problem? I just get the money.
And in the Hollywood Reporter article we were reading, they said, for income, Fleiss has several hustles. Every so often, a reality TV show like Celebrity Rehab with Dr. Drew will ask her to appear for a fee. And I'm like, great, $500,000 for being a drug addict? This is phenomenal.
For the money. But then when I saw the show and I saw what I looked like, I was just horrified. And I realized I do have a drug problem, and not only a drug problem, but a very serious drug problem.
She does kind of look like that actress from Working Moms. You're right.
I'm sober today. And look I have weak moments, very weak moments. And since Dr. Drew's show, I haven't been sober the whole time. And I've relapsed quite a few times. But there's been times since that show when I thought, I need to go back on there again.
Harm reduction queen. She previously experimented with growing marijuana, but her steady gig of flipping Airstreams anonymously on eBay. So Airstreams are RVs. So I guess she fixes up RVs and then sells them on eBay. Fleiss, inspired by how Sean Penn lived in Malibu and one, began hunting them down around Pahrump. Her neighbors see little aesthetic value in the trailers, now so beloved by Instagram influencers. She farms out basic rehab work and sells them for 4 times the purchase price. This place is just a dumping ground for them. She says that the town enables her to maintain her birds. It's the ugliest community all over the planet, and I've been all over the world. It's Wonder Bread and Velveeta cheese. Several years ago, she'd invested a $1 million inheritance from her father into Bitcoin, intending to use it to support herself and her birds. In February, she filed a $4 million lawsuit against another former friend alleging cryptocurrency theft. I don't want to come off as like a serial fuck up. Maybe I am. I just make really bad decisions. This honest diva. Fleiss's fervor for birds was ignited when she first moved to Pahrump in 2005 to open a much publicized stud farm for women who are willing to pay for sex. Neighbors objected and the bordello never got off the ground. At the time, she lived a short distance from her current home, and her bedridden elderly next door neighbor Marion, once herself a prostitute and former madam, she got girls for Howard Hughes. Colonel Sanders was her sugar daddy. Kept a caged aviary of dozens of parrots in a single wide trailer. Fleiss fell for one of them, a male named Dalton. I just connected. It really bothered me that he'd been sitting in a cage for 15-20 years. There was dust on him. When Marion died soon after, Fleiss took possession of Dalt and a few other birds and sought to place others in sanctuaries. I found that there really weren't any that were truly what you think of when you think of a sanctuary. It would be a lady with an apartment in a San Bernardino complex with a second bedroom and a 501c3 nonprofit registration, she explained. So Fleiss decided to build and operate a more enlightened safe haven of her own. I thought running 500 girls was hard. That was nothing. Fleiss now manages 40 parrots at her indoor-outdoor spread. None of the sanctuary's residents are caged, instead living beneath an intricate latticework of netting. They come and go as they please, although only a few of the second-generation ones who were born under Fleiss's care will fly beyond the property line. These free birds like to take flight across the town to Treasure RV Resort, landing by the pool and palm trees. People Facebook it, she said. So she basically lets the birds out and then they just come back because I think they like her and she's reliable. So this is her bird sanctuary where she lives. So she lives there, the birds are there, she has this giant keep out sign, and she just lets the birds fly around and do their thing. This is sidebar of this trailer.
I took the oldest profession on earth and did it better than anyone on earth. She slept with all these guys for free would be fine, but the fact that she takes money for them, it's illegal. I mean, why should there be laws on a woman's body?
Yeah.
I have a substance abuse problem. I love that white trash drug, crystal methane.
Former Hollywood madam Heidi Fleiss wants to get back into the sex business, but this time in Nevada, where it's legal.
It's a man's world, Heidi.
But it's my game to lose.
My biggest fear of Heidi Fleiss is Heidi Fleiss.
Heidi Fleiss is kind of synonymous with sex and money. Really, I'm just your average convicted felon.
Tried to find that, couldn't find it, but that was a more recent clip I have found of her. Many of Fleiss's parrots have been mishappened by trauma before her time with them. There's one that was given poppers, another that spent his life in a closet trained to spout, "Look at that," when the door opened. A third has a metal pin holding one of his feet together because he was thrown against a wall. The lifespan for parrots is getting shorter, which is good because then the torture in the cages is not as long, she reasoned, before explaining that she had gone as far as to breaking into a house to retrieve an abused parrot. Really, the best thing for the species is to go extinct. A dog lives 13, 14, maybe 18 years. These birds live human lifespans all cooped up. Fleiss added that she is acutely worried about dying because she believes that the precarious refuge she's created will dissolve as soon as she's gone. Animal control authorities will box them all up and stick them in kennels, she said, her voice quavering. Fleiss's Pahrump operation is low overhead. It's just her. She lives on site, making regular road trips to LA to buy hundreds of pounds of feed, and a Salvadorian family living around back whom she pays to clean. But she's hoping to hire folks to handle marketing and fundraising, and if she can ever afford it, to purchase a more appropriate 200-acre property in Oregon she has her eyes on. It's all trees, she said. The man that Fleiss alleged betrayed her wasn't her only would-be parrot benefactor. There was the late Simpsons co-creator and noted animal rights activist Sam Simon, who by her account was impressed with her pitch the day before he was diagnosed with terminal cancer. "I couldn't follow up with him afterwards," she said. "It didn't seem right." Then there was a high-flying, relatively media founder, Ryan Kavanaugh, any relation, who'd owned an African gray parent before his own financial flameout. "He was going to help me and then he went bankrupt," referring to Revolt's 2015 collapse. She exhaled long and slow. "How do I have such bad luck when I'm trying to do good things with these birds?" By the time she was approached the Hollywood Reporter in October, intent on vengeance, she said that the man's attorney had actually paid her back in full, approximately $220,000. Yet Fleiss still wasn't satisfied. She wanted the donation for the bird sanctuary, she said, and her incessant demands for the money had angered him. At a mutual friend's LA apartment party in August, he was threatening to hurt me, he said. "He says. You live out there in the middle of nowhere. Accidents happen all the time." Fleiss continued to press her case against the man to the Hollywood Reporter until March. Then something happened. Following a week of silence, she forwarded a letter that appeared to be ghost-written for her by an associate of the man. She neglected to remove the associate's email address. It explained that she would no longer be going forward with the story, adding, "I was very mad at the person we discussed. I was furious. In fact, as a result, I made up the stories I told you." The letter went on to observe that she was high during the Hollywood Reporter's February visit to the property, recanting everything she'd claimed and provided evidence to back up. The reason still wasn't clear. She dodged further questions and instead repeatedly hinted that her decision was informed by the realization that the Hollywood Reporter wouldn't run a photo that is an accurate depiction of what macaws endure. So I'm a little confused. Very strange, though. Maybe a threat changed her mind, or she was lying. But perhaps having convinced that the man... I made this font way too small. Having convinced the man that she was serious about telling her story, he finally yielded and paid what she desired. Because of the murkiness of her actions and other credibility issues, the Hollywood Reporter withheld the man's identity from the story. With Fleiss, when it comes to sex, money, and power, there remains a blurred line between being exploited and being the exploiter. That's the best way to describe her, I think. In 1995, when she was out on bail awaiting criminal sentencing, then they start talking about the case. Broomfield learned that Naj and Fleiss were still in communication. She was visiting him. Broomfield offered a theory on Fleiss. Her choices and people are self-sabotaging. She's her own worst enemy. In both cases, Fleiss asked why she kept close contact with those who had hurt her. Now as then, she had no answer. So this is one of the last little clips we'll watch of her. This is a long stream. And I do have a game for you.
Never ever thought I would end up here. Ever. There's no way. Early 90s, I ran the most successful illegal sex business of all times. I had hundreds of girls working for me. I lived in a $5 million house in Beverly Hills I bought from the actor Michael Douglas. Even though I was arrested 20 years ago, I'm known as the Hollywood Madam. What I did, some people say it's illegal. The courts found it illegal, and I went to jail for that. A hardcore women's penitentiary for over 3 years. Other madams get arrested, and they always say, oh, bigger than Heidi Fleiss, better than Heidi Fleiss, but you don't know one of those other madams' names. And look, if you're going to run an illegal business, why are you going to live in some little apartment? You'll never see another madam ever living how I did. I moved to Nevada to open up a brothel with a twist, have men be the hookers instead of women. And I was living in the Caesar's Palace, and after 2 months it got kind of crazy. So I decided to rent a home a half hour away from where Charles Manson was captured. And right next door to me was this little trailer. I didn't know who was in it, but there was a bedridden former madam who once ran the exotic bird department for the Tropicana Hotel in Vegas, when Vegas was real Vegas. This madam on her deathbed said to me, Heidi, you take care of my birds. And I told her no, and she dropped dead. At that moment, everything changed because I fell in love with these birds, and who knows, everything happens for a reason. Who am I? I don't know. Some people say I'm a washed up whore. Some people say I'm a crackhead. Some people like me, some people hate me.
She'd be the aunt the whole family could listen to for hours.
Who plays with birds. It's been a crazy way to reinvent myself, but I love my birds and I will be successful no matter what I do.
So, prostitutes to parrots, I don't know if it ever came out. Just Googled her and Anna Christina, and apparently she's made comments about AG not being a real madam. Like, she doesn't want to let this persona go, even though it was 2 years. I think she is deeply traumatized. In 2022, she announced she was going to move to Missouri because someone shot one of her birds with a pellet gun, but then I couldn't find any evidence of her moving to Missouri. So I think that's just something she said one time. I do want to hug her. Like, do I think she's the most kind, ethical person ever? No. But do I think everyone involved fucked her over? Yeah. And she also basically went in the media during the LA fires and said any exotic bird owners in LA, she would take in their birds while they figured their shit out. Like, all she cares about is the birds. Like, I can't find a single other thing she gives a fuck about other than the birds. She's just so nice to the birds. And I found out about her from Charlie Sheen's documentary. She reflected on how she ended up in the business of sex. She was in the documentary a little bit, but not a ton. And it has come out that she is going to be played by Aubrey Plaza in like a biopic about her life. I think she's an incredible person, incredible character. The story is insane. Adding that Fleiss is the ultimate badass icon and deserves the royal treatment. So this is a video of her talking about that at the Charlie Sheen premiere, and I think that's where we end.
We all know Charlie had a hand in you going to prison, and you say some interesting things in this doc. How do you feel about him today?
I'll set up your game.
Well, and I was going to prison no matter what, so there was no way around it, you know. And I really don't know what else I could say about the whole thing.
How wild were those days with Charlie, and how out of control was he?
I think that his documentary will show that, and I'm glad everything turned out really well. I have no feelings either way.
Perfect fit, right? I'm really happy Aubrey Plaza is cast in this.
How do you feel? We're hearing about this biopic. What do you think about it, about you?
It's exciting. I mean, I thought Oprah Winfrey should play me, but they came up with someone better, you know?
Have you met Aubrey yet? Have you guys talked?
I have not. I'm excited about the whole thing. It's going to be wonderful. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a satire. It's going to be great.
I lit the fuse, and my life turns into
I'm going to turn TikTok off. Goodbye. Love y'all. My phone's about to blow up. Like, it's
There's
so
only one
hot.
person alive that has the answers to so many people's questions about me. And that's...
What will we learn from this?
The truth. You learn the truth. And I don't know, it's easy to see your life is boring from a personal, when you're so personal, but apparently it's not. more.
Do you think that you were unfairly targeted in prison because of Charlie's celebrity and all the things that are going on, and it became like this media story that everyone hopped on?
I don't think Charlie had anything to do with my arrest or me going to prison. I think that I cornered the market. No one will ever run an illegal consensual sex empire like I did. And just like Martha Stewart, some women get picked out because of who you are. And what
There's a lot of news about people who are running unconsensual sex rings.
They're talking
what do you
about
make of all that?
It's disgusting. I don't think anybody can think something like that's okay. It's disgusting. But that was never my thing, and no one ever asked me for an underage girl, so it's something completely foreign. And I was so busy with consensual sex, it's something totally foreign to me. And it's horrific. No one should be ever forced to do something you don't want to do.
Do you think...
But my thing, girls were banging down the door. They were climbing up my hill in high heels. You know, I didn't have to, they were coming to me.
So very different than what we're hearing about now.
Oh, absolutely. I remember being out at night and a girl being like, Heidi, who's at the house? Who's answering the phones? You know? Yeah. It was, I don't know, it seems like another lifetime ago.
It does seem like another lifetime, but you know, your name, while it was at first, it was infamous, now people look at it very differently. How do you feel about how you were portrayed?
I knew the day would come when people would go, what? You went to jail for that? You know, because it's consensual sex. It's just Match.com or like a dating app. Basically the same thing. So I knew the time would come, and I don't know, I'm glad everything happened because it led to right here, right now. Mm-hmm. And now I'm all about helping the captive birds. That's
talk about your birds.
And that's what it's about now, your new mission?
Absolutely. I feel it was way more important, the birds stuck in cages, than rich people having sex. Just how I saw it. I couldn't handle the bird in the cage.
Let me ask you this. Did you get calls, and were there a lot of people afraid when you were arrested and everything that they were going to be outed, and you know, they were like, oh no, Heidi has our information? Because you see now, with the list now, it seems like people are terrified.
Yeah, I think that, okay, there's a reason I became Heidi Fleiss. It's because what they were saying was true. And everybody was involved, and everybody you think who was doing it was doing it. And it was a lot of fun, and it was good times. And I thought I would get in trouble one day, but I never thought it would be such a big deal, you know, because it's adults doing adult things. Yeah.
Okay, what do you think about this list now and the way they're hiding and holding the Epstein list and all that?
She's so real.
Show the list. That's what I see. Show the list. Of course there's a list. You know, of course there's a list. Everyone has one. It has some kind of list with notations. It may not be exact list how people see, but it's going to be a form of a list with notations
and she's right.
And things. And everyone
release the list.
At a certain, you get to a certain point in your life and a certain thing, that's just how it is, the way the world works. Definitely show us the list. Let's see full transparency like they promised, right? Even the victims say it, so. Or survivors, right? Survivors, yeah.
And even the way she corrected herself from victims to survivors, like, again, I'll say, is she like the most ethical or transparent person? No, but I think she's deeply traumatized. And I really do have a fair amount of respect for her for being so real, for being so honest, for not really ratting on anybody, for taking her punishment like a G. And then now she's just like hanging out with these fucking birds, which I appreciate. Next week we are talking about Miss Heather Gay from The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, but let me go ahead and put in our little game. This was a very long stream. I appreciate you all sticking with me. And I know I was going like 100 miles an hour the whole time, but I hope you see there was just so much information and like different people's perspectives here. And it's just a lot. And honestly, I really, really do recommend the BBC documentary. Like with this one, I'll say I enjoyed creating it more than delivering it because I felt like I didn't do it as much justice as like with the documentary. I really felt like I knew her, if that makes sense. So I would say that's going to be a good add-on for you because I watched the documentary today after I kind of finished the stream. And I only added a few things to the stream because of it. But I just felt like it gave me a lot more nuance to her personality and all of that stuff. She's just so real. She's so real. First stream and had the time to make it the whole way through. Oh my God, look at us. That's the other reason I'm kind of wanting to change formats is because the deep dives, it just gets to be like 3 hours. It can just get to be like diabolical and crazy. Who texted me? Oh. Interesting. Work has been crazy recently. I know like you guys probably don't care, but just know that like really insane things are happening. And I know I always say that, but that's apparently just like the theme of my life, I guess, is that insane things happen all the time. User name is #forthebirds, so I of course had to choose the penguin. Alrighty, I'll give people a couple more minutes. I think most of us have departed for the night. I'm just obsessed with her being obsessed with birds. First stream too, so happy to make it. I hope you guys liked it. I felt like I went super fast tonight. Like I engage with the chat a lot, but I didn't tonight. Oh my God, I just saw this on Instagram, so sorry if it's wrong. Zoran Mamdani won. Is that true? Am I breaking this news to you? It was posted 7 minutes ago. He won? That's awesome. I like him, if you didn't already assume that about me. I'll wait for you guys to hear me. You guys are always a couple seconds behind me. That's cool. I kind of am like not super shocked just from what I was seeing, but that's cool. Let me Google it and make sure I'm not like spreading misinformation. I'll just Google him. It'll probably come up. The Hill published that he won 25 minutes ago. Okay, thank you. Yeah. The Hill published it. I don't think it's an official result yet. So The Hill published it, and then Quentin Quarantino, who's like an independent journalist that I met at an event one time, and I'm very fond of his work, he posted it. I really do trust him. But it has not had like an official call yet, I don't believe. Now Cuomo needs to move to Florida, like he said. All right, on that note, I'm going to start the game. If you have not joined, it will let you join late. I just realized the freaking YouTubers. I've like barely been seeing y'all. He won all except for Staten Island. Interesting. All right, so let's play our little freaking game about Miss Heidi, and then let's get out of here and celebrate this local election that's giving us all hope. He's 9% ahead, and 69% of the votes are counted. Got it. Okay, so it's not official yet, but it looks like it's getting close. That was real-time online commotion. Exactly. Where is Heidi from? I wonder if my test results are up yet. I took a certification exam, and they said the results were going to be up, and they're not. And it was supposed to be like over 24 hours ago, and they're still not up. And I called them today, and they were like, yeah, we don't know. Where did Heidi Fleiss learn the business of sex work? Madam Alex. How did Heidi get connected with Madam Alex? Oh, it was another teaching certification. It was for PE and health, so it's just like an add-on to my existing certification. I don't think I passed all the parts of it. I think I passed some of it, but not all of it. It's in like sections. What was Heidi's house known for? This little fly buzzing around this room is driving me insane. It's like a little gnat, not even a fly. Girls partying in the pool. Oh, I love being able to breathe. Heidi turned on all of her clients. There was a bit in pre-K where I released any caged birds I came across, so I get it. That is so fucking real of you. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Which prominent celebrity testified against her? If anyone knows who answer choice D is, I'm gonna be really impressed. It's kind of an Easter egg for next week. AP called it. Mamdani won. Nice. Nice. Online commotion, people. Who helped Heidi launder money? So happy to share this moment with you all. Me too. Yes, that was Coach Shaw. Nice job, Foshizzle22. I'm impressed. What has Heidi struggled with? Drug abuse. And I like that she's been honest about it. She's like, I'm sober, I've relapsed a couple times. How long did Heidi serve in prison? I rescued a cockatoo from a dock I work at this week, so I feel for her. She was in prison for 20 months. What did she serve? 20 months. She said 3 years, but court said 20 months, so. Why was Heidi in Penthouse? Her ex-boyfriend sold the photos like a fucking loser. And he sold all her home videos to that BBC documentary guy. Alrighty, Parrot Feed Store parking lot, Skelly Doll, Sex Work Wilson, That's My Hair Zoran for the World, Nora, Liz, first time live, long time fan, Crybaby Rich Boy, Lola, Ashley Poo Poo, Lumen, hashtag for the birds. I will scroll through the rest. Nice job. I'm gonna get out of here very momentarily. This might be our longest stream ever, but you know, we had a live political reaction. I had updates for you all. It was much to talk about. So for those of you that have a meme, you have about 20 seconds. Boom, go, do it. I love my background. It's turning out so much better. This stuff up here, I kind of want to put on a little box so it sits a little bit higher. Stop speaking bluntly or draw 25. That's funny. Oh, Lemur Banana, you always have a good meme. I can always count on you for that. I'll give people a couple more seconds. Thank you for being here. I know this was a long stream. I will see you next week for Heather Gay. And yeah, congrats to Mayor Mamdani. I'm glad that we figured that out here live together. Love you all so much, and I will see you next Tuesday.